Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Babylon 5 Retrospective. This week on the program, we are looking at a huge two-parter episode, War Without End, Parts 1 and 2, episodes 16 and 17 from Season 3. This is pretty exciting. This is pretty big. There's a bunch of stuff from Season 1. We're going to find out what the deal is. You're going to hear about what we think about it. It's going to be big. Be there or be square. All right. But first, before we do that, let me bring in my co-host, the man who is the Ethel to my Lucy. He's the guy who keeps us all in line, keeps us doing what we're supposed to do, and isn't too grumpy about it. It's Cam. Say hello, Cam.
Good evening, Babylon 5 fans, to this pivotal set of episodes.
Pivotal. Yes. Very pivotal. All right. I think we should go, quickly right ahead. I mean, let's bring in the rest of the panelists. I'm going to bring them in one by one. First of all, let me say, let's say hello to the man who he really started this whole thing. He's the grandfather of this program. He's been around since Jesus was on YouTube. It's from Sci-Fi for me. It's Jason. Hello, Jason. Welcome. You're muted.
All right. Okay. I think. Thank you.
There you go. You're good.
Sort of. Yes. Kind of. Hi.
Hi.
All right. Welcome.
Just real quick. Hope Mindy's doing great.
She's fine. She's home. We had the surgery yesterday, and she's home now with ice packs around her middle, and everything went by the numbers. The docs are happy. They've sent the thing off to pathology just to make sure, but they think that it's benign. It was adenoma on her adrenal gland, and when they pulled it out, it was slightly bigger than a golf ball. So, yeah. So,
right,
but
well,
she's doing good. She's resting.
So this might hopefully be the last of all of these.
Fingers crossed.
Oh, sorry. Knock on wood. Whoops. Sorry.
Yeah. No.
I should have said that.
Yeah, we're still looking for the punch card so we can get our free one.
There you go.
Yeah. All right, let's bring in the man who is our local anime expert and the guy who who digs too deep into Babylon 5 and brings up all the stuff that nobody even wants to know. It's Madman. Say hello, Madman.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening.
Good evening. All right. Let me now bring in the man from across the pond. He gives a little bit of that, British sass to the show, classes up the place a little bit. It's Dean. Say hello, Dean.
Hello, everyone. Yes, it's good to be here.
Welcome. And also Jeff.
Also Jeff.
All right.
Hello, Jeff. My name is Jeff. I've never even seen that damn movie.
And the rest.
I haven't either.
Never
Jeff,
seen that stupid movie.
I'm sorry, Jeff. Do you want to say anything about yourself?
Live from the
Lovable
foothills
Jeff.
of the Great Smoky Mountains. I don't know. What do you know?
From deep in the heart of Tennessee, the host of Tennessee Tabletop Tavern. Yes, Death Angel Shadow.
Hey.
Sorry. Okay. I just couldn't think of anything. All right. Let's get quickly to last week's trivia questions. We'll do that, and then we'll jump right into the show. I'm sure everyone's excited. This is going to be a good episode. Good 2 episodes. I'm excited. All right. Well, let's do real quick. Let's do trivia from last week. Last week, episode 15, Interludes and Examinations. How many days since the events of Ship of Tears? When blank goes to ground, I worry. Ivanova said that. You can never go wrong with blank. And Veer's embarrassed to say that word. Who does Kosh appear as Sheridan's in Sheridan's dream? How many shadows are present with Morden when Kosh dies? And of course, the answer is at the bottom. 10 days since the events of Ship of Tears. When the Voron go to ground, of course, I worry. Garters, yes, you can never go wrong with Garters. And David Sheridan, who's Sheridan's dad. And of course, there are 3 present when Josh dies. Even though we don't actually see that, it's kind of assumed because we see 3 earlier in the episode with Morden. So I don't remember
Always 3.
seeing exactly 3. So yeah.
And something just clicked. Never mind. Move along. Nothing to see here. Move along.
Okay. I'm going to turn it over to Cam for our quick episode summary. Then I'll do another slightly more detailed, but I'll try to get it done quick so we can jump right into the show. Go ahead, Cam.
Okay, we've got episode. I'll do it one individually. Episode 60, or episode 16 of season 3, War Without End, Part 1. Written by J. Michael Straczynski. Original air date May 13th, 1996, and production code 316. Jeffrey Sinclair, Ambassador Jeffrey Sinclair, returns with a mission vital to the survival of the station, traveling back in time to steal Babylon 4. And then episode 61, or episode 17, season 3, War Without End, Part 2, also written by J. Michael Straczynski, of course, May 20th, 1996, original air date. And production code 317 is the mission to send Babylon 4 where it's needed continues. Sinclair's destiny is revealed. Sheridan sees what will happen to Centauri Prime in the future, and Zathras explains who the One is.
All right. And everyone can execute Operation Bunny. So if do you want to explain that, Dean?
Yes, I'm happy to explain that. And KK, can I say I'm deeply touched. The British Easter Bunny, fantastic. Thanks, Jeff. Thank you.
You're welcome.
when I was caretaker of the library for Jack the Lost Law Scholar, we had targets for super chats, and one of the targets was if we had 20 super chats, I would dress up as the Easter Bunny, which I did on our show on Tuesday. And I say it went down a storm. It was really good.
All right. Awesome. And that's a clip from the episode right there.
Courtesy of yours truly.
Now, everyone shall be referred to as Easter Dean 1, Easter Dean 2, etc.
I called him Dean Cottontail.
Oh, I like that. I really do.
It suits you. It suits you, Dean.
Thank you.
You did a good. You're a good sport, too. You're an excellent
if you can't take the fun out of yourself, who can you take the fun out of?
And he missed an opportunity to be on my show as the Easter Bunny.
I didn't want to bring your show down, and it would have been perfect.
You wouldn't have.
You
would have brought it up.
Yes.
But that does bring up that we just had Easter, so
yeah,
we happy. I hope everybody had a happy Easter. So
yes. All right. We'll jump right into the show. Okay, so the episode part 1 starts off with on Mimbar, which we've never seen before. A box with a letter is given to someone who is quickly revealed to be Sinclair, and he opens it up, and his name is on a letter inside the box. Meanwhile, back at Babylon 5, there is a dress call from Babylon 5. It's obviously Ivanova, which is confirmed by the computer, and she's talking about how Babylon 5 is under attack and is about to be destroyed. And then the scene cuts for the intro for the episode. And I'll very quickly go over, we'll talk in more detail, but the whole structure of the 2 episodes together. Basically, Sinclair comes from Mimbar to the station. He meets with everybody in the war room. He meets Sheridan there. Everybody gets together. Delin comes in. She basically says, hey, all these people have to go on the White Star. Sinclair, Ivanova, Marcus, Sheridan, of course. They all go on the Mimbar. And she explains the situation, which is that Epsilon 3, the great machine, is firing some sort of tachyon beam at the Sector 14 where Babylon 4 disappeared, and it's opening up a rift in time that they need to use. They have to go back 6 years from now, and they've got to stop the Shadows from attempting to blow up Babylon 5, because what they need to do is they need to take Babylon 5 and bring it 1,000 years into the past. 1,000 years ago, she explains that the Mimbari were winning the war against the Shadows, but then their space station, which was very important to their logistics system, got destroyed, and they were going to then lose. But this station then showed up, and they used it, and it helped save the war and defeat the shadows. And if we don't, and not until she sort of came to Babylon 5, the Minbar understood that, Babylon 4 is the station. It's this Earth station, and so now we got to make sure it goes back in time. And without it, the shadows will have 3 times as many ships, and the attack on Babylon 5 will come to pass. We later find out it's going to be 8 days from now. Garibaldi finds it out. Okay, so that is the basic storyline for the story, what they need to do. That Zathras then arrives. We had saw him on Epsilon 3. He's got some stuff that they need to make the time, to do the time jump safely. They go back. They blow up the bomb that is the shadows have sent towards Babylon 4. But it blows up a little bit too close to the station. It knocks out the EMP portion of it, knocks out their sensors so that they can get on board. But also, it makes Sheridan disappear. Something happens to his time thingy that's supposed to keep him safe. It gets damaged, and he goes into the future. We find out 17 years. He meets Londo there. Londo is the Emperor. He's looking pretty old, and he's a little bit pissed. He says he's going to kill Sheridan. And the reason he wants to kill him is because, I guess, supposedly after the Shadow War, after Sheridan's War, Londo calls it, they didn't take care enough for the Minbar, for the Centauri, and somehow some of the Centauri minions, those types, got on the planet, and they seem to control the planet. They've been destroying things, and we find out that Londo himself is under control. There's more stuff that happens with Londo, but I'm gonna leave that. Anyway, Sheridan meets Delin there. We find out a bunch of information about Sheridan's future, like he has a son, stuff like that. But I'll leave the rest about Londo so we can discuss that in detail. Anyway, Sheridan goes through his time thing, and he goes back onto Babylon 4. At the same time on Babylon 4, they're rigging it to travel through time. They have to put some sort of homing device near the power core, and that will help them move it. The Babylon 4 has got a skeleton crew and 2,000 workers that are all getting ready. They're still, it's not fully complete. They're still working on it. Sheridan comes back due to something Zathras does. He sees Sheridan flickering back and forth, and he sets up a suit so that Sheridan can get snatched back out of back wherever he is and back to his proper time. He does come back. Sheridan and Sinclair go into the power core where the homing device is. They're trying to set it up, but something goes wrong, and they jump again to 2 years before our present time. So they were 6 years back. Now they're 2 years back, and the whole episode from season 1, where Sheridan and Garibaldi rescue everyone from the station, that happens at this time. Sheridan and Garibaldi arrive. They evacuate people. Meanwhile, everybody else is sneaking around, trying not to be seen. Zathras, of course, if you remember that episode, Zathras is captured, and he talks to Sinclair at the time. It's very cryptic, won't tell them anything. And we go through all that situation there. Meanwhile, as per that episode, Babylon 4 is evacuated, and they all, the old Sinclair escapes with Garibaldi. Meanwhile, they discuss back on the station, Sinclair and Sheridan, Delin, and Zathras discuss what's happening. We find out that Sinclair, Sheridan, and Delin are all the one from the past, the one from now, and the one for the future. And Marcus offers to go back and take the station back, but Sinclair refuses. He says that everybody else is going to go back on the ship. Him and Zathras are going to go back 1,000 years, which they do. And we find out that, of course, 1,000 years ago, the Minbari would not have accepted a human on the station. They probably would have ignored him, or maybe killed him, or taken prisoner, something like that. And instead, Sinclair uses the same technology that Delin used at the end of season 1, and he becomes a Minbari. He is the Minbar who is not from Minbar. And that is the end of both of the episodes. Very quickly summarized. Cam, over to you.
Okay. Well, I think probably the best way to deal with this is in a somewhat linear manner, but some of the time jump stuff and everything we might pool up together. But in terms of storyline, it's actually a fairly straightforward setup for a two-parter. We've got the B4 caper, which is really the A plot, and then we have the Sheridan time jumps, and then the Delenn attachments to that. And then we have these big reveals. And of course, with the time jump is the whole Londo portion. So why don't we start out right at the beginning with the scene on Mimbar? And let's see. Let me flip a coin between Dean and Madman since we've got our guests here. Madman, let's start with you on that one.
Okay. Yes, we're on Minbar and the whole situation. And I like how this was put together on there, because it gave sort of a mysterious way. As you see a mysterious man walking down there, and it reveals that it's Sinclair. And you have a Minbar who walks up to him with this chest that says, we were told that in 900 years to go into this room and open this chest, and it will tell us what to do with this chest. And they open it up, and it basically what you're finding out is that Sinclair's name is on an envelope in this box. And the shock of the Minbari that tells him, it's, he's like, how does he know your name? How does he know about you and all that? And then, and that's the big reveal that Sinclair takes off his hood to that situation. And then there's a whole discussion between them, of course, the credits roll and the whole situation. And basically we get back to this, and basically, Sinclair thanks the Minbari for doing, helping him through, because I guess this Minbari, when he first arrived there, he was the one that basically attached himself to Sinclair to help him get adjusted to living on Minbar, into the whole situation. And he thanks him that, thank you very much to the situation. And then he walks off. And I think it's like one of the great parts in here is that the Minbari sitting there, and a Volon, not Kosh, but another Volon comes over, and he says, why do I have a weird feeling that I'm never going to see him again?
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't have the exact word. Do I have the exact
He
word?
is the closed circle.
Thank you.
He is
He's the
returning
closed
to the
circle, the
beginning.
serpent.
Yeah,
He's going back to the beginning.
He's returning.
And he tells him, he says, well, what does that mean? And Minbari doesn't say anything else. I mean, the Volon doesn't say anything. The Volon doesn't say. He just walks off. It's like, normally this was Kosh. Kosh will be like, yes. And he just this one, he just walks the hell off on this.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, and it's just, and because a lot of people said, well, we've only seen Kosh for this series. That's all we've seen. We've seen Kosh only. Are there any other Volons on there? And now we know there are other Volons. And some of them are on Minbar. To this.
Yeah, it's a very important point, because and it was a fairly, he didn't seem like, surprised to see him or anything like that. So we know that there was this relationship with the Vorlon and Minbari going back 1,000 years at least.
Right.
And so that was nice that they had that little bit in there. Just one other thing I want to mention before I turn it to Dean for comments is we saw a human and a Minbari ranger walk by, and as Entelza, Sinclair came by, they both kind of acknowledged him briefly, kind of head nodding to him.
Right.
Dean, what do you think about this scene?
I thought it's a great scene, great way to bring you in. I don't know about you, but since when I first watched season 1, the Babylon 4 mystery was a big mystery. And then you're hearing War Without End. You can't really take it. But the very start, seeing Sinclair come back was like, wow, Sinclair's back.
Yeah.
And then seeing the box open and his handwriting. I love my time travel theories and stuff like that. And I was my mind was racing ahead going, oh my God, this is some time travel thing. They're going to bring Babylon 4 back in. So I wasn't disappointed. Great way to open the show. I would like to draw the attention to the Vorlon. and how the encounter suits have changed.
Yes.
And that, I believe the Vorlons, similar to the Minbari, are 3 sets. And I think the encounter suit you're seeing here, it's just a wild guess, but I think that's the more warlike Vorlons. Kosh,
Interesting.
the diplomat, the religious sect has been killed, and the warlike Vorlons have been drawn into the conflict. But that's just a wild, kind of theory on this.
Sure. Jeff, what do you think about this scene?
I had not even contemplated. To me, it was to show us that this is a different Vorlon. I hadn't thought about him being in a different cast. That's an interesting theory.
Yeah, if you think to the final scene of this the next episode and the 2 Vorlons there, have a look at their encounter suits.
Yeah, it's similar.
Yeah.
Jeff, well, how did you think about what was your reaction to seeing Sinclair come up here?
Well, my first reaction with the opening was, finally we get to see Minbar. We kept on hearing about this. We know Sinclair. We went there. We know Marcus has been there. We know, all of the.
Veer,
The only parts of Minbar that we have seen was the Great Council and the ante rooms outside of it.
Yeah.
And was that even on Minbar?
No, that was on a ship.
Yeah. So we haven't seen Minbar until then. So I was very, very excited to see actually how Minbar was represented, the waterfalls and all that. And actually, it was done quite well considering the CGI that was available at the time for what they were doing. I think it did well, and I think that then they blended in, they faded in, and from the clearly CGI to what appeared to be a like a stained glass window, and then that's where we pick up and see the meeting. What we see, this hooded figure walking, and I knew right away. I'm like, that's got to be Sinclair. It was not something that I didn't pick up on immediately. I'm like, that's going to be Sinclair. Now,
to bring up what you were saying before with the Great Council and where that if they were on Minbar, the Great Council travels in space. They have their own spacecraft, and they travel around. They just basically they're never in the same place at the same time.
Right, and that could be for security purposes too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because if Minbar was directly attacked by the shadows, and but by the same token, if the shadows had found this, at any rate, that's all fan theorizing. But yeah, I was excited, but I was not surprised it was Sinclair. As soon as it opened the box, of course, that's been contained for over 900 years, I think is the way they put it. I'm not sure. I guess maybe whoever left these instructions and hand wrote on these notes
in English.
In English. Yes. And clearly we know, we learn who did it, but clearly they must have lived long enough to know that this was kind of the final thing that they had to do at some point in time, because the war was 1,000 years ago. So this person must have lived,
Well, and they specifically said 900 years ago was when these things were supposedly written.
Right. So that was the one thing that I still have questions about, and maybe those will be answered at some point in the future, or maybe not. Maybe it's, was it who was,
what's a Minbari lifespan?
Well, it's longer than humans. We know it's Madman. Is it something like 150 years? Maybe
like 150. I think the oldest listed was a 200. Was the max.
So, but
what about humans at that point too, though?
Well, humans, I think, are a little longer lived, but basically not much different from us. So it's
maybe 120 years, 130 years, something like that.
Yeah, I'd say that'd be pushing it probably. Okay. Anyway, Jason, what do you think about this? How'd you feel about the reappearance of Sinclair and seeing Minbar and everything?
Well, the first thing, it was not really a surprise so much, because we know he's been on Mimbar, and when with the hood covering his face, I was like, oh, this is somebody we've seen before. This is going to be this surprise reveal, and there he is. Now the thing that I find interesting here, I didn't automatically go to the Babylon 4 time travel stuff. I knew we were going to have time travel involved at some point, because you've got Doc Brown's notes there, but it doesn't really say very much about what this is kicking off. It's all very spooky and mysterious. Is this something I've got to do? And he's talking like he's never going to see anybody again, and we know he's not, just simply because on the outside of things, we know he wasn't there. He wasn't on the show very much longer. So it's a good setup for the mystery to play out. It's a good and like Dean said, it's nice to see the other kind of encounter suits. But it didn't really spark any kind of ooh, it's Sinclair. I didn't have that. I was like, oh, it's Sinclair. Okay, we're gonna do this. So I figured as soon as I saw time travel in it, I was like, okay, well let's see how this plays out, because time travel episodes are tricky.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting because we'll see a lot of weaving in this one between the Babylon Squared episode and this.
No.
So that'll be fun to see. I'll take just a quick timeout to note that Outpost Nerd is upset with me already. Okay, Snob, what do you think about?
Dare you?
What do you think about this intro?
Yeah, it's good. I mean, as soon as I saw Mimbar, I thought, okay, maybe we're going to see Sinclair because we haven't seen him. Maybe this is going to be, War Without End. Maybe they're going to, and then of course he appears, and I'm like, all right. I assume that they were going to maybe, sort out those threads and close them up in this episode, but I didn't, know exactly how that was going to be done. I'll echo the whole, I like these two episodes overall. Time travel is tricky to do. I think overall, this was pretty well done from the various different time travel stories I've seen in my science fiction career.
Repertoire.
Repertoire, sure, whatever you want to call it. This is pretty well done. Because it can be tricky and it can be, messy. And, I'm aware of the problems that JMS had with this, with his lead quitting after season 1, but he's able to weave them all together. So I'm pretty impressed with that. Yeah.
My man, Dean. Okay. Well, so I love this. I was talking about a little bit before that, I felt a little emotional seeing Sinclair back. I can't say that I was like, oh, I'm a huge Sinclair fan, and it was upset that they made the shift to Sheridan and everything. But I really did like seeing him back, and we can get into that a little bit more. But that was my first impression was I really liked it. That said, if I and Outpost Nerd's mentioning this about the rewriting. We're going to have a special segment at the end of the review discussing the alternate, kind of the behind the scenes stuff regarding that. So stay tuned, everyone, to the end. Our special extended.
Just note that Cam cried like a baby when he first saw this episode.
That was supposed to be private.
Oh,
okay.
Poor Cam.
Now, if I may, since
tears of joy.
I would like to bring up, and this isn't really a complaint, but it started me thinking when we see Sinclair here, and he's clearly gone native, kind of like Veer tended to. He's not dressed in a uniform, anything else, and in a bit we see his interaction with Zach, and he mentions about since things went sideways on Earth and everything, he is the Minbari ambassador, or the ambassador to Mimbar from Earth, and presumably Earth still has relations with Mimbar, but of course they stood with Babylon 5, so we don't know where that goes. I guess what I'm trying to say is I was just a little bit curious about what Sinclair actually did when he was sent by Earth. there, and presumably he had duties. And what happened, what happened from his perspective on that? Of course, we don't see that through this episode, but that was something I was like, clearly he seemed to have not been doing any ambassadorial duties at all. And went right into the Ranger thing.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, he's been gone 2 years.
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
We did. Well, I guess what I'm saying is we didn't see. I would have liked, and maybe this episode wasn't the place for it, but I would have liked to hear a little bit more about that.
There are side novels. There are side novels and comics to that, because if you notice
about that.
Yeah, if you notice, Sinclair has a scar on his face.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. The according to what they were saying, and one of the things I looked up on this is that he went on some Ranger mission, and that's where he got the scar.
See, now I was under the impression that happened in Babylon Squared.
Well, he did have the scar, right, in Babylon Squared in the future. His future self.
In the future self, yes, his future self had it, but his past self didn't.
So
but somewhere, when he arrived on Minbar to Babylon to this episode, he went on some sort of mission and got a scar.
Right,
and it's in one. I was trying to find where it is in what novel or what comic book that it's on, because there's a lot of side stories. The in between stuff that they put together of stuff that you'll question.
The book is called To Dream in the City of Sorrows.
Thank you.
But
no, wait,
hang on. Based on this, though, I think that it seems to me that, like somebody mentioned, Sinclair's pretty much gone native. He's not really doing his ambassadorial jobs. I don't think Earth sent them there to run the Rangers or anything, did they?
No, they wouldn't even know about the Rangers, right?
Yeah, he's supposed to be eating fancy dinners and hobnobbing with head Minbari, not going on secret missions and getting
I'm guessing that at this point that Earth has gone crazy, that he's just he's just not even pretending anymore. But I don't know that for sure though. I mean, I guess he could be officially pretending to still be doing those duties, but it's just interesting. It's like, because again, he mentions, I forget the religious cast guy's name, but the Minbari guy he was talking to at the beginning, that no one trusted him when we went there, and the guy said, well, Delenn pointed, so clearly Delenn had something to do with this and was interacting in regards to it, but
it's like Raytheim or something like that.
Okay. But he, Sinclair didn't know about this either. It's not like he knew about the Rangers and everything. He clearly had a learning curve and had to discover this destiny. But we know he didn't, because he just received this letter now. So, he was, how he became Ranger One is a whole, not a whole, but it's just something we haven't had portrayed on screen. So
do they? I was going to say, do they indicate that the Rangers existed prior to Sinclair being on there? Have they ever said that?
Well, I'm trying to remember, because when he sent his message to Delenn and Garibaldi, when it was early in season 2, I think, after he had been off the show, he did appear in a message. Right, when the Rangers first showed up, when he, Garibaldi captured that or gotten,
right,
that one guy that was kind of, hanging around, and he explained the Rangers to them. Now, I know from not third party, but supplemental sources, that the Rangers did exist before this time. They didn't originate now; they originated back 1,000 years ago. Valen established Rangers. Madman, that's correct, right?
That is correct, because Valen had left warnings to the Great Council to the future that basically, the shadows are going to be returning, that to be prepared, to the situation. And he didn't go into major details, but he said, be prepared. They're going to return.
Right. And I'd love to delve into that whole thing about the Minbari prophecy and everything in a bit. I'm sorry, I've kind of derailed the main story here, but that was just something I was wondering if you guys had any interesting if that was like, oh man, I'd like to see more. I would have liked to see more on that, but I like the setting stuff.
Well, I think a piece of it too is Michael O'Hare's condition and situation. You wouldn't be able to do a whole lot of exploring on those side stories with Sinclair, given what he was going through too. So
yeah, and we were no longer following him, in the story. It was, okay. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I had something that started playing sound. And
okay.
Turned it.
So,
All right.
I was going to say, I thought it was interesting that he seems to be well respected on Mimbar.
At that point,
with what we see, he's obviously been, elevated to a little bit more than a, just maybe not, a respected ambassador, or at least, accepted by the Mimbari, and treated, very well, and just respected for his, knowledge or whatever. And he's, as we mentioned, he's taken on some of their traits, or some Vorlon-like traits, with his way of speaking. So
yeah, and that's I'm glad you brought that up, because it is a bit, he wasn't necessarily like that. He was kind of introspective, and he was, he had this hole in his mind and the whole thing, but he wasn't this ethereal figure,
enigmatic.
Right. And so we don't see that development within the show, and it just has me curious. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It has me curious to know more, is all I mean. Jeff, did you have something you wanted to say?
Yeah, I was just checking here. It says there was a point in which Sinclair sent the message to Garibaldi and Delenn that he revealed he was building a secret army of light known as the Rangers. So and this is from one of the books that I've got, which only, by the way, goes up to season 3, episode 3.
Yeah. Now, technically, he was rebuilding the Rangers.
Yeah. So maybe the Rangers was but that's also when he gave the warning about the shadows.
It was also Also, remember, he was expanding at this point. Remember, the Rangers in the past, 1,000 years ago, were only Minbari. Okay, right. Now we've gone to present day. Sinclair is building the force not only for Minbari, also human and other alien races. Yeah. If you remember when Marcus was introduced, there was a Drazi there. It was a Drazi that was helping him. And how many other races were aboard that was on that planet, basically training?
Right. Okay. Dean, anything on this wrap before we move on to the next segment?
No, I'm good.
Okay. All right. So then we have we're on Babylon 5, where we've got the scene with Corwin picking up the message, and Ivanova's there, and they play it back, and the whole mystery of that comes up, and then they have the discussion in the war room where Garibaldi's there, and they're discussing the whole thing. We start with Madman. Dean, you want to talk about that scene,
Yeah, happy to do so. So it was really Garibaldi's chance to shine a bit, because he's of all the people there, he's the only one that's experienced the time flashes.
Right.
So he you could see he resonated with the distress call. He was recalling what he had seen when he went to rescue the people from Babylon 4. And I think he was kind of jumping ahead on this and going, there is a link. Sector 14, what he saw, the destruction of Babylon 5, and this distress call. So he was let me get out there, let me go investigate. What was it? 3-hour trip to Sector 14 in normal space. And as we know, Sector 14's been quarantined. I think the last time we saw Sector 14 was the episode Knives, when
Sheridan went out there.
Sheridan, thank you. Sheridan went there and had that entity come out of him and go into the time portal. So I think it's a great scene. It's a great, it fills in a lot of the background for people who might have not have realized or need a bit of a callback to the Babylon Squared.
It was pretty effective. I think that Straczynski really kind of brought that together nicely.
All the flashback scenes, I mean, throughout both episodes, I think did a great job.
They did.
That's a good point. Yeah. You know what? I'm going to mention a few other things and kind of expand what people, the segment to talk about here. just real quick, we see the scene with Delenn, kind of in mourning. I guess in reference to Kosh, she's talking about her friend who's departed, and then we see that she has a letter, as well that's been delivered to her, and then we have Sinclair's arrival on the scene. He's got this little scene with Zach, which I thought was nice, and then. Did I forget where the Zathras scene? Did that come in right after?
You see Zathras in the very beginning,
with the Great Machine.
Yeah, with in the machine on Epsilon 3.
It's after the war room scene.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
it's after the war room scene. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. All right. So let me go to Jeff next on this one. Just kind of this, first segment. Any points you want to bring up? Anything in particular interesting before? Let's keep it to before Sinclair shows up and they have their meeting with Delenn and everybody in the war room.
Well, let's see. Intel Za. We learned that he's called Intel Za. Let's see. I mean,
And again, I'm sorry. No one. You don't need to review anything if you don't want. I'm just opening.
No, I'm just saying. Mention. I thought it was fitting that Garibaldi decided to he jumped at the opportunity. He's like, look, I need to go and investigate this. I'm the only one left here that has the experience on that.
Yeah.
He definitely, he got permission from the captain to go ahead and take a Fury out, and he went out there and he was out there trying to record information and get more, because all they were picking up on Babylon 5 was just a very weak audio distress signal.
Right.
And so he did go out there, and I don't know if at this point he had picked up any video, but at some point he does. So
yeah, a little bit later.
Later on, yeah. But Delenn, of course, got a note as well. And you see that just kind of sitting on the table, so she's already aware that it is time, and what's his name walks in, and the room is dark. You don't see her; she's sitting in the corner somewhere, and he says something to the effect of, "He's here, isn't he?" And then, of course, she goes to the "We are gray, we stand between the candle and the star." She got the note as well, and that's kind of signifies where we're going with this. Clearly, the indication is that we are getting ready to go take care of some business that needed to be, and we've already seen Sinclair, so we kind of know they're building where they're building up to.
Well, and her indication that her demeanor in this is there's a sense of inevitability where she's like, oh, okay, it's time, let's get this over with. It's like she's preparing herself, she's steeling herself for something that is not going to be pleasant for her to go through.
Yeah, and of course you notice that the handwriting on the letter to Sinclair is also the same handwriting that is on the letter to Delenn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I do want to bring up is I forgot who said it, that she was mourning for Kosh. That wasn't really the situation. It was more toward that she read the letter and she knew what is to come.
Oh,
after
okay.
reading that letter.
I didn't think that she was mourning for Kosh.
Oh, okay.
Although I'm sure she has been.
So when she said her friend, she meant Sinclair then.
Yes.
Sinclair.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And because she even said he's my friend, and that's where my mind. Sinclair. We're talking about Sinclair, and she knows that he has a destiny to fulfill. I think at this point. So, and she apparently has only just learned any of this information. So, with this letter that she's received, that of course Sinclair
presumably the same trigger, the letter to Sinclair.
Exactly. This is it's now time to go do this. And she's like, okay.
Again, we don't have to dwell on any of this. Jason, did you have anything on this little collection of scenes that you wanted to note? Or
No, I'm good.
okay, Madman.
I'm good too.
Okay, Snob.
Yeah, it was good. I think the guys mentioned it was a good scene. Everyone seems to act their parts. And Delenn's kind of like, "Hey, let's get we got to go and do this. It's time." And Sheridan's like, What's up?" Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty well acted, and everyone seems to be operating the way that they should be. Yeah.
Okay, so then we go to this. We got the scene with Zathras. Where he talks about Dral, and Dral is occupied. With the what he's doing with the Great Machine. Which is having to do with the time rift. So then we jump to Delenn comes in the meet. They all get together in the room here. Now Garibaldi's gone, of course, at this point. But Sinclair shows up. Sheridan and Sinclair had met each other before on Mars, but Sinclair kind of comes in and he introduced. It's like, oh, Jeffrey Sinclair, which I thought was a nice little touch. It's like someone you haven't, you're not like a friend with or really familiar with. Kind of reintroducing yourself is a little bit of a polite thing. I thought that was a nice touch, but they have this whole thing, and Delenn's kind of pressuring them to, they got to go, the White Star. And I thought it was a little weird that Sheridan seemed really resistant. Usually he's like, yeah, Delenn says so. I trust her. And he seemed kind of suspicious or not suspicious, like he didn't trust her, but just kind of like, I don't understand. Yeah. Apprehensive. But long story short, they get out to the White Star where Delenn says she was going to explain everything. And then she does.
Well, the apprehension, I think, comes from he was already there once before, with the alien creature that was inside of him and all that. And he knew what has happened in that territory, Babylon 4 disappearing, the death of the pilot that was there that, aged, drastically when he returned back to back on Babylon Square. Right. A lot of strange things happened in Sector 14.
Right. So they do have this. They also have this other scene where they're in the shuttle, Sinclair, Sheridan, and Marcus, and then this is where Marcus kind of gives the reveal about Ranger One here being, tight-lipped, cryptic. Yeah, good, right, good way to put it. Which again, like the Vorlons a little bit. So again, I was like, oh, that's interesting, but they didn't explain how he got to that.
Can I quote that
completely
for you?
Sure.
Captain, if I were you, I'd quit while I was ahead. Back on Mimbar, there was a saying among the other Rangers. The only way to get a straight answer out of Ranger 1 was to look at every reply in a mirror while hanging upside down. Oh, wait, I just lost myself. While hanging upside down from the ceiling.
Yeah. With the implication being that either you'll understand it that way or you'll pass out and won't care.
Right. Yeah.
I was going to mention that all these scenes between Sheridan and Sinclair, I quite like them because it kind of got the I think it got the situation where Sheridan's he's a little bit unsure because this is the guy who was in charge before him, so he's a little bit, but yet Sinclair is very confident, and not necessarily because of he likes Sinclair is very confident, not because he likes Sheridan or anything, but simply because he's sort of evolved beyond. Maybe evolved is not the wrong word, but he's sort of
zen. He's kind of got the zen thing.
Zen is probably the word, Jeff. That's probably the word. He's become more, he's got a bigger picture, and he's not worried about the sort of things that Sheridan is worried. Oh, I got to keep the crew safe and all this stuff. He's sort of looking beyond that. So I think that was portrayed very well between the two of them. And, I was kind of impressed that, if it's, let me bring it back to Star Trek again. It was Kirk. Kirk would take over and he'd be like, you're fired, Captain. I'm taking over. But, he sits back and he lets Sheridan, run the show. He doesn't interfere. He just does his thing.
Well,
JMS in an interview had said that basically both actors spent a lot of time on this on behind the scenes. They had lunch together. They between takes, they sat together, talked, and all that. And they just got, they became very good friends on the set. Most of the time when you have a guest star or something, they're just thrown into the fold, into the situation, and the scenes are shot. Get not too much time, but here, I think they were encouraged to basically speak to each other throughout the process of this episode.
Well,
Yeah.
I think it was trying to develop a mutual respect, and you see that we kind of glossed over the war room where Delenn walks in immediately and and says it's time, we need to go now, we need to get on the White Star and go, and she also mentioned that we need to bring Ivanova, and we need to bring Marcus, and then also one other. And then that's when Sinclair makes his entrance.
Yeah.
And
Well, you both bring up a good point in that there's this little bit of it's like Sinclair is now kind of the intermediary between Delenn and Sheridan a little bit. It's like he's the one that's like, yeah, I believe her. Yes, I it's like he's confirming the things where Sheridan's having these doubts suddenly.
second thoughts, maybe?
Kind of, and well, we can get into it more, but Snob, I'm glad you brought that up about the this guy's his predecessor and everything, because there's a great scene later, I think, where, well, we'll talk about that, but
well, there's the scene right there on there where he meets Sheridan, Jeffrey Sinclair, and I'm and he's Sinclair or Sheridan is like, yeah, I've heard so much about you,
and he compliments him also.
Yeah, and he says, I'm glad to know that the station has been in good hands. That the station, the people have been in good hands after my departure. So
it also
mutual
Sheridan's about to
respect.
say something, and his link goes off.
Yeah,
and he says,
always on. Yeah.
Never let you finish a conversation, does it?
Yeah.
Well, that was a nice little bit of rapport that it built between them. It's like, oh yeah, I know what being the commander is like,
Right.
But I thought it was also good, Jeff. What you mentioned is that it indicates that Sinclair had some affinity for the place, right? He believed in it and what they were doing there.
Yes.
With Babylon 5 and emphasizing the importance of Babylon 5. So,
yeah. I thought it was a great meeting, and it was a great way to bring the two characters together. But that scene irked me for one reason, and it happens again later on in I think the second episode. Do they have no security on Babylon 5?
Right.
Sinclair could just go straight to the war room, come out of this elevator, not challenge, not having to put in security codes or have clearance. And it just irks me when films or TV series do this.
But he's also
It's that
Ranger
attention.
1. And
Yeah,
and
but
if there's a Ranger, you would assume that the war room, this is the Army of Light war
Guarded.
room, right?
Maybe,
Yeah, it's
maybe.
There
guarded.
would be a Ranger that would
Yeah.
be guarding it.
And Ranger 1 shows up. You're gonna open
yes,
that door
sir.
up.
That's I get what you're saying though, because we've seen that constantly with the press and everybody else under the sun.
It's kind of a running joke at this point.
It is, and I'm being a bit of a pedant about it, but
That's my
does
job.
Get to me, yeah.
Okay.
Team Cam.
Right. There you go. So now they have this first big reveal, where Delenn's telling them about this, and they have this footage from 1,000 years ago, where they see the Minbari station that was destroyed, and then Babylon 4, from the past, showing, and they're like, what? Because again, I saw this 30 years ago, so it's not a surprise to me. But I'm curious to see what you guys, because they heavily implied that this was going into the future, right? That Babylon 4 was being taken into the future for a future war. And then we saw the thing about the White Star showing up and all that. But how did you guys take that reveal? This was, I know some of us, it's a recollection, but for three of you guys, this is new. That Babylon 4 did not go into the future, or did you think that? Had you gone with that assumption? Jason, what did you feel about this whole?
Well, no, I didn't have a thought one way or the other as far as where the station landed. That would imply that watching Babylon Squared, you would think that you'd see this thing again. And there's nothing to suggest it at that point other than your older Sinclair shows up.
Right.
But once he left the show, it's kind of up in the air if we're ever going to see him again. Well, what happens to that story thread? And like we know, this particular episode was a rewrite off of what the original plan was. So there's really not any way, there's not any indication in that episode that Babylon 4 is ever going to show up. And there's nothing to say it goes this way or that way in time. So I didn't have a particular expectation one way or the other. So when they sit there and said, "Oh, well, it showed up 1,000 years ago," yeah, okay, I can see what they're doing with this now, because it's one of those bootstrap paradoxes, right? We have to go do the thing because we did the thing.
And if you don't do the thing, then you won't be able to do the thing.
Yeah, if we don't do it, then it didn't happen, and so all of our history kind of unravels. So that's essentially what we're looking at here with this particular story setup. The thing that gets me in this particular episode, it looks like they're using rear projection screens behind Delenn on this stuff as she's explaining what's been going on, and that's an expense, and I didn't figure that they would be doing that.
You're talking about for the old footage where
yeah,
they're
the footage
showing
behind her is on the wall. That's actually there. It's in camera. And
yeah, but
I thought that was interesting to see that. I'm like, oh, they're putting that on the screen behind her. How they do? Is that a rear projection screen? Because that's not TV.
Yeah.
They don't make TVs that big. It's not LED panel like we do now.
Right.
That had to be a rear projection.
Yeah. Yeah. It definitely had that, because it wasn't. I mean, it was a CGI image, but it wasn't. Didn't have that. It was clearly not a green screen type CGI.
Right. No, yeah, that was
I was about to say the video toaster, which is software that they used on here, has the ability to green screen the background without green screening.
Yes, but you have it.
It doesn't have that telltale.
Yeah, but having worked on video toaster, it doesn't have that high quality like you see there. I mean, I'm looking at this, and that's actually there behind her in camera. That's not a visual effect that's put in there afterwards. That's there. And if it had been done any kind of a green screen or a screen replacement or anything like that through video toaster, you would have some artifacting around Delenn. Right. There's none of that there. It's actually there in the screen, which I thought was a nice touch.
It did look good. Jeff, what do you think about that reveal? Jason kind of was like, meh. Did it feel like a big deal for you?
Well, so the implication, because where we did see him in Babylon Squared, he was older.
Mm-hmm.
So the implication is this is in the future.
Right.
And so did it surprise me? Maybe a little bit, but
spoiler guy.
Yeah, the problem is, spoiler probably got me on that, and that's kind of why
You've been listening to the commentary track again, haven't you?
No, that was not a spoiler. That was not a commentary track thing. That was going down the Google rabbit hole thing many months ago.
Let me address something. Outpost Nerd said transmission from Susan with station being destroyed shows what will happen at Babylon 4. Doesn't go back to time. Yes. And I think they reveal at this point too that the whole idea that if it doesn't, then the shadows will not have been defeated. It would be either a stalemate or a loss in the past. And she says something about 3 times the amount of ships. I'm not sure how they would really know that. It might have been far, far worse. I guess we see the transmission, so we know the Babylon 5 still would have existed and everything, but 1,000 years of of intervening relative power for the shadows seems like a real bad thing.
Yeah,
but
there's one thing that wouldn't have happened if they didn't complete what they did. First of all, the shadows would have won the last war and been stronger. But the second thing is the Triluminaries would have never gone back in time. And thus the prophecy wouldn't have been put in place. When Earth opened fired on Membar would have pretty much wiped out Earth, which meant the Babylon 5 station was probably a last-ditch attempt to try and remain significant in the galaxy. Earth would have been a far weaker force than it is currently, and Membar probably would have been much more of the aggressor. So diplomatically, the galaxy would have been far more fragmented than it is currently. So
Well,
it sounds like a small thing, but there's a lot of events that wouldn't have happened that would have had knock-on effects.
Butterfly effect.
Yeah,
no,
absolutely.
But I have to mention that, Dean, you're a little bit off on that, on the situation that the Shadows would have won the 1,000-Year War. No, it was implied in the episode that basically, even if the Shadows lost, the difference is that they would have had more ships in hiding than what they have now.
Yeah.
The amount of
Either
fleet
way,
ships
the
they have,
shadows
the Shadows would have hit a lot more ships, and they would have came into this century with a larger fleet, that would pretty much engulf the universe.
Now, Cam, you had said that they indicated that that the Minbar that they were winning the war, and I
didn't say that. I didn't say that.
No, I'm talking about it 1,000 years ago, and I thought that they were. I thought that they weren't winning the war.
No, they weren't. They were losing the war.
They were losing the war, and then their last great battle station got destroyed.
Yeah.
And at that point, it was all hope is lost type of thing.
Right.
It was the battle station's destruction that was the beginning of their losing streak on to that.
Yeah,
I thought they were losing before that.
Well, they might have been. They couldn't mount an offense anymore. Is I think what the implication was.
Yeah.
And that Babylon 4 restored that ability to them. And yes, 1,000 years ago. Snob, what do you think about this reveal? Was it impactful for you, or was it a meh for like Jason, or for?
No, I mean, I always thought we'd see it again. I'm with Jason. I didn't know if we were going to go forward in time or backwards in time. I didn't really decide, but I kind of figured it'd be maybe backwards because your technology would probably be better. The Babylon 4 technology would be more impactful if they went back in time. The fact that Sheridan was older didn't really affect me because, time travel is weird. You jump forward and then you jump back and all these weird things happen. So I wasn't thinking, either way.
So none of you took the bait. So. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, let me just say one other thing here. Snugs, I put Cam in charge, so blame me.
I was gonna say that one of the other things that we shouldn't forget is that Babylon 4 was bigger and more powerful than Babylon 5.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So
it was a military station.
Yes, it was designed as a military.
But also
it was bigger. I thought it was smaller, but
no. Babylon 4 was larger.
Yeah, but it was certainly Babylon.
Yeah, but one thing that it had that the other stations didn't have is engines. Babylon 4
was movable. Yep.
It's Snob, you bring up an interesting point about the technology because, 1,000 years of technology, the modern day, how does that compare to Minbar technology of 1,000 years ago? I don't know. But it's an interesting question. It's an interesting question.
It's an assumption that I would sort of make but the show kind of implies that the Minbari haven't been, in 1,000 years, they haven't advanced that much, like they're not like, at our present rate of like here now where we are, 1,000 years from now, it could be astronomically different technology wise for us based on how we're going. But a lot of science fiction does that, where they assume that there's, a dark period or for whatever reason, a race doesn't advance at the, present rate that we are advancing, which, is reasonable. It can happen.
Snuggie is the worst of all time. Ban this guy. Well, it's an interesting question in regards to technology, I think. But presumably the Minbari would have had some kind of technological benefit from their association with the Vorlons at that time, and others. There, Delenn said others as well.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. Is this 1,000 years ago? Was that the first time the Minbari met the Vorlons?
I think it was. I'm not 100% sure about that.
Because their ships look very conventional back then.
Yeah,
and you now go ahead 1,000 years, and the ships look far more organic in nature rather than conventional
This is
metals.
the second war. This would be the second war with the Shadows. But this time, the second war included the Minbari.
Well,
The second
this-
war that
this
the
is-
Minbari were involved in.
Yeah,
My
there's been-
understanding was that the Minbari were the Minbari are finally on the galactic stage, so to speak, at this point. This is the first time that they're involved in these kind of things. I thought Delin said something like suggested that earlier in season 1 or 2 that it was the first time that we were involved in these sort of things.
Yeah, someone mentioned that the Minbari is like the oldest of the younger races, kind of thing.
Right. So there were other there may have been previous wars with the Shadows and the Vorlons and the other the light side that happened long before the Minbari were on that stage, if you will. So
yeah. Well, what I don't understand, and again, it's my independent, but over 1,000 years, they lost a load of records of the event. I would have thought with something that big, those records, why were the records lost? Why was information lost? Did they lose their cloud service or something like that? I mean, I just don't understand.
yeah, the sky something took down the sky, and then
With Minbari, it might be lost is we don't want to tell you.
It's the Great Council.
I think you're right.
Hid a lot.
Yeah,
from the
locked wares and secrets
they
lost
hid a lot,
as in no longer being studied.
Yeah. And remember, some of the
it's either
information
the Great
they
Council or it could have been they put it all in Microsoft Outlook. One of the two.
Yeah, like microfiche, and then
some of the information they got about the Babylon 4 situation was from the Great Machine.
Yeah,
right. That's true.
That's right.
Some of the things Delenn revealed there was from the Great Machine that had been there for 500 years, meaning its observations of Babylon 4 disappearing and the shadow ship coming in to try and the fusion bomb and the White Star.
Right.
And that's where they get the whole thing. And I guess where this is on to the next point is this is the whole thing. It's like, wait, we did it. We did this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which, clever, this time loop kind of stuff, of course. And Sheridan, again, is very skeptical, of this kind of apprehensive, as you guys have mentioned. But they get together on the plan again. Sinclair's like, this is what we should do. And they decide they're going to do it. And the interesting thing is Drawl is just kind of doing this without informing them. He's just making this rift and hoping they figure it out, I guess. And
remember what Drawl said. It took time when Drawl took over the Great Machine. It took him time to understand the machine itself and its secrets. And once he saw all those secrets, he knew what was supposedly going to happen, and he was already prepared at that point. That's why immediately, you're like wondering, why is he opening this rift now?
Yeah.
I mean,
Zathras also points out at one point that Zathras knows many things Drawl not know yet.
Yes, let's hold that. Yeah. Let's hold that thought till later.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's hold that a little bit later, which that's an important part later in the story.
I guess we should bring up that Zathras does show up. A ship comes from Epsilon 3, and it's Zathras. That they allow to come on board the White Star, and he, introduces the whole the time anchor. What do they call them? The temporal.
Oh yeah, the stabilizers, time stabilizers.
Time stabilizers. Yeah.
And so if anyone has anything else you want to talk about, we can. But if not, we can jump into the.
Yeah, can I just because we were talking about time travel at this stage. There are a couple of principles of time travel. One is that whenever a time travel occurs, it creates a divergent event, so the divergent timelines. What we're seeing here actually is that within the Babylon 5 universe, it's a single timeline. And events will overwrite what has happened before. But you reach this point where you get two potential futures coming together.
Yeah.
Knowing one will hopefully, take precedent. And I just found that quite fascinating that Babylon 5 goes down there's only one timeline route. Similar to, I think, to Star Trek. Star Trek kind of uses the one timeline, although it gets a bit fuzzy when you go into temporal wars and stuff like that.
I hear Jason.
Yes, I'm just thinking some of the Voyager episodes where they make a change and they effectively overwrite their timeline and things.
Year from Hell should have been an entire season, and there never should have been a reset button on that.
I do agree.
And same thing
I
with
do
Scorpion
agree.
and Scorpion also. That should have been an entire season.
Well,
Yeah,
what,
but that's the problem when you have a single timeline.
Yeah.
Things. Yeah, you can
Well,
overwrite what
wasn't
has
wasn't there
happened.
wasn't there an episode, because these two episodes reminded me very much of I want to say Next Generation episode.
I'm not gonna have to play the herding cats.
No, I'm just saying there was an episode where it was like, it was basically the grandfather paradox is what it is, A leads to
Ew.
B leads, where we've talked about. Now I'm not talking about.
Was that the Kittima? No, not the Kittima one. The one where they go back in time and they've got to leave Tashiya to defend. I'm trying to think. now.
Yesterday's Enterprise.
No, it's
Yesterday's
Enterprise.
Yes, yeah.
No, Jeff, you may be thinking about Time's Arrow, where they find Data's head that was buried in San Francisco from the.
Well, they did a bunch, didn't they?
They did loads. Anyway,
we have to have one Star Trek reference, but now we're at 3 or 4, so we got to call it there.
meow.
Okay, and oh no.
Come on, this is the Babylon 5 show.
Okay, so all right, we get back to now they have this bit with Garibaldi. Just I want to mention that Sinclair, after they decide what's happened, Sinclair says he needs a favor, and then we see the scene where actually Sheridan had told Garibaldi to go back to Babylon 5 before that, but then they're passing. Garibaldi didn't know they were out there. He thought that they were calling from the station because he patched through to the station to make the call. I'm not sure why he did that, but he did. But then Garibaldi finds out that they're out here on the White Star, and he's like, "Oh, I need to come along." And Sheridan has to say, "No, go back. We need you there." And then we find out, that Sinclair asked him to do that because reasons that we'll get to later. Okay, so they go through the time rift, and they are at the point now. They are 6 years in the past, which is the Babylon 4's original position in time,
Right.
where they encounter now. They know about the shadows. With the attempt to bomb. To put the fusion reactor and hide the fact that it was destroyed. Babylon 4 was destroyed. And so then they execute their attack. It's kind of a hit or miss thing. And, they're too close, both them and the station. But Susan does manage to manually fire at the bomb and blow it up, damaging temporarily Babylon 4 in some ways, their sensors, and also damaging the White Star a little bit, but basically Sheridan's time anchor, in which point he blips out of existence. I'm going to open this up to everyone, but I want to note this is kind of a scene that I really loved here. Is they're all like, "Oh, we gotta," they kind of all start talking about, we gotta help Sheridan and and Sinclair's like, "No, we need to stay on the mission." And they kind of resist a little bit, but he's like, "This is what he would have wanted. This is what we need to do." And they kind of agree. And then there's this end point where he goes and he sits in the command chair. And I thought that was absolutely fantastic because it was, again, it's involved a little bit with the meta story here, of Michael O'Hare being off the show and not being the commander anymore. And these scenes that Snob, you mentioned, this interaction with Sinclair and Sheridan and about Babylon 5. And I just thought it was good within the story and the meta story of the show. And I just absolutely I thought it was well played. Michael O'Hare did a great job with that scene. And now I'll open it up to you guys for this segment. Let's see. Let's start.
Well,
with,
one thing I want to bring up before you guys go, because
Sure.
a lot of people are kind of confusing on to the shadow vessels that were taking the fusion bomb. This took place in 2254. The shadows at this point technically were in hibernation.
Mhm.
The Icarus didn't find the Zahadum till 2257 and awoken them. Technically, these were the acolytes of the shadows.
But they were flying shadow ships, so
Yes, they were flying shadow ships, but as Delenn mentioned before, and we've seen this in that other episode with that creature that was with what's his name, Dwight Schultz from A-Team, the creature there that we knew that he was on his way to Zahadum as well. That there are other beings that are working for the shadows.
What?
The Shippeteers as well, the pilot,
and Shippeteers also.
Yeah.
Well, I'm inclined to believe that the just like the Army of Light, that there's an Army of Shadows, and it's not that they're a particular specific race. The Shadows aren't a race per se; they're a collection of.
No, they basically they have their acolytes. Think it to the perspective.
The whole thing with the Icarus, though, we have other indications that the Shadows were active before that, don't we? That with all this stuff on Mars and everything was before that, or not Mars, Ganymede, was before the
Mars
Icarus?
one, I think, was before.
Right,
Icarus.
but remember the shadow ships are run by so you can put a human being in there, you can put anybody in those ships. It not necessarily is a shadow, because when you listen to the situation, the explanation back with Kosh and Delenn is that the Icarus awoken the shadows.
Okay. That's true. They do make that point. Go ahead.
I'm not sure about this myself, but I kind of agree with like Outpost Nerd. This is what my assumption was, that there's a race of the shadows, like there's Vorlons or whatever, and they got a bunch of guys who do their bidding for them as well.
Exactly.
That's what I've thought from the beginning.
And we've seen these shadows when Morden was in the room. And the camera was changed and stuff like that. So
and
we've
don't forget
actually seen
Shippeteers. What were those creatures in Shippeteers that were drilling into the telepaths?
Yeah.
Were
they shadows? I thought they were shadow allies rather than.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Who are they? Are they the ally? Were they allies?
Right. Yeah. Well, I think the point that I was trying to make is that we had kind of to me, it came across as definition. It's like the shadows were not active until the Icarus thing. And again, if you want to take the broad term of shadows and their allies, or the shadows specifically, I don't know. But when I saw it originally, I was like, they weren't, they were gone. There was no shadows until that event. And that's, and I think that was made like, this was the thing that released the evil, right? Again, was that mission. And we'll see more about that, but it's not explicitly true. That's not really true. We like, because we've seen these other instances of shadows or their allies doing things, way before that. So they were not inactive for 1,000 years is the upshot of all this, or at least, they're allies.
I think it's similar to what the Vorlons were doing. The Vorlons were very active, but they were hidden. And I think in the last episode, it was Kosh saying, if we attack openly the shadows, we're revealing ourselves, and they're always concerned about being revealed. I think the shadows were operating in a very similar way, where they were hibernating on Zahadum, but they had all these agents and other things operating in the galaxy to keep their momentum going.
So there had to be some of them that were still trying to mind the store, so to speak, while the majority of them were in hibernation.
I would agree. I would be thinking the same way. 99% of them doing, and they got a couple of their guys maybe, and they're slaves to do stuff. That's probably what's going on. So.
Well, they clearly have plans within plans, and we have this other thing related to the time thing. It's like, how did they know to try and destroy Babylon 4?
Well, they mentioned that because they recognized the station.
When it was being built, right? Like they saw it at that point. They had intelligence.
Yeah, they go, "Hey, that's the thing that came back and defeated us 900 years ago. Maybe we should. Why don't we do something about it now?" I thought that was kind of the implication that I got.
I don't know on this. I'm gonna have to look this up. But remember, what happened to Babylon's 1 through 3?
Eco-terrorists and anti-alien extremist groups destroyed them.
Yeah, that's what we were told to that point.
That's what we were told.
That's what we were told. But could there have been the shadows as well? The
shadows. I had a look at this, and JMS has been on record to say no, they were destroyed by internal factions within Earth. So terrorist groups and stuff like that.
That's one volume I haven't looked into yet.
Yeah.
Just another timeout I want to note, because the chat is very important, is Outpost Nerd does not like us speculating on things. So and he also believes that details are just semantics. Got it. Okay, let's okay, so sorry, I was this whole segment here. Jason, do you have anything that you want to go over? Note anything interesting, not interesting, leading up to them, boarding Babylon 4? The attack,
Now,
Sheridan.
I thought one thing that I've noted throughout both of these episodes was how well they integrated Babylon Squared.
Yeah.
Scenes from that one into here, it fit pretty seamlessly, and I found myself looking at the sets for the new stuff, the Babylon 4 sets for the new stuff, and wondering, I was like, well, I wonder how if I go back to Babylon Squared and look how much of the sets match, because everything, from an acting story wise, it all kind of blended pretty well together. So, because you had some stuff like Ivanova showing up in the promenade as they're walking past. I thought, well, that's reshot from the other one. That's not, they're not just dropping her into existing footage. This is new footage that they've shot for this episode. So I'm curious now to go back, because I didn't have time to look at Babylon Squared again. I'm curious to go back to Babylon Squared and then watch these two right after that and see how it all lines up.
Madman made did a comparison video. We're going to look at a little later from the scene with Sheridan when Sinclair was a little older. So that'll give us a good that'll give us a little indication about that one. I think we're going to go over that, Cam, when we get to the Sheridan in his suit sort of thing. But yeah.
Sure. Okay, let's see. Madman, you got anything about this segment here? I guess, we could get into, because Sheridan time jumps at this point. We see the bulk of that in the second part.
The device is hit by some energy from the explosion, and it just basically shoves him into the future.
Right.
Yeah. Before we go to that, I'll just add my 2 cents to this. I thought this was a great scene. I think you guys described it. Cam described it really well. The way Sinclair comes in, he just sort of takes over. He's like, "No, we're going to do this," and everybody there, a lot of them worked for him or had respect for him, and so they're all like, Ivanova, she's like, "Oh, we should save him," and he's like, "No, and he was her boss before. Everyone's gonna fall in line. Marcus is gonna fall in line. They all know him, so he's quick, easily takes over and sort of sits in, and rightfully so, in my view. So I thought it was a great scene. Showed the what kind of guy he is.
Yeah, Dave. Spoilers. That's all I got to say to Dave. Because we're not there yet.
I'm sorry, just to kind of fluff this out to part 2 here. We just some things I forgot to mention is we saw the scene with Zathras and how he's excited to see Sinclair, for the first time, which again in his timeline, Sinclair explains that they've already met in his past, but not in Zathras' future. And then, but he's like, oh, many reasons, he's implying, there's something about him. And then he also kind of is, he's excited to meet Sheridan for other reasons. As he says.
Well, he also says Zathras, you saw, no, you're not the one in the flashback scene.
Right.
You're not, because he thinks that he recognized him, but then he's like, no, you're not the one.
I've been told not to acknowledge you as being the one.
Right. I like how Zathras gives us spoilers without trying, but I think that's deliberate.
Here's the lining from that part of the lining from when they first meet in this episode. It says, "So you are not to say anything that might change the past. Understand? Yes, Zathras understand. No, Zathras don't understand. But Zathras do understand.
But Zathras
good at things, not understandings. Zathras honor to meet you for many reasons. Zathras is also honored to meet you for other reasons." Sheridan goes, such as.
I thought the scene was good.
No.
Zathras not remember.
Not to say. Give things not to say. This was one. No, not good. Not supposed to mention one or the one. You never had that. So what else is on this list that you remember that you're not supposed to mention? Zathras does not remember, but if Zathras remember, later Zathras tell you.
Right.
I thought this scene was good. I mean, I assumed that Zathras had met, that he had met, like this wasn't in the future for him. So this little scene was like, oh, hey, I met you, and he hadn't met him. I'm like, oh, that's throwing something together again a little bit. So I
his
enjoyed
past,
that.
his
I like that.
Zathras' future.
I assumed that Zathras was way ahead of us on everything, but no.
Yeah, and it was interesting that Sinclair picked up on that right away too. That's like, don't mention this to me in the past,
Well, and the other thing about Zathras, whenever we started watching this at the beginning, season 1, and he shows up in Babylon Squared, we already had gotten the animated show, right? The animated movie with Sinclair bouncing back and forth in time. And Zathras is in that. And my thought, it was just kind of a random thought. Zathras could be one of those people, perhaps his race has a sensitivity about time. He's not a time traveler so much as a time sensitive. Like he can sense various different various different points along the timeline, forwards and backwards,
or exists outside of like
time. Not necessarily like the Bajoran prophets, or time is not linear for them.
What is this animated show you speak of?
There's a movie. There's an animated movie.
We're not there yet, Jason.
I know we're not there yet, but it's been out.
I haven't seen it.
I just saw it a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, well, I mean, Zathras is in the promo. I haven't seen it either, but I was like, oh, okay, this cat comes back. So this is where his story begins in Babylon Squared, and I thought it was interesting that maybe he has this sensitivity to him about how things are almost like a Time Lord. But no, I guess not.
One other thing I want to mention is Garibaldi does arrive back at the station and talks to Zach briefly about Sinclair being there, and he's like, "What? Why would he not?" Talking. So he picks up there's something strange about that, and then he goes to his quarters and finds there's a message. It's code and everything. Okay, so let's.
Well, and they when they're on the ship and they're passing. You see Sinclair say goodbye, old friend.
Yeah.
And I made a note of that when I watched it the second time, and I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah, and they had a in the first season they had established a lot about the relationship between those two.
Yes.
Okay, so I just want to open this up through the end of the first part. Let's just go around the horn and give everybody a chance to talk about anything that we might have missed. Let's start with Madman.
Oh, me again? No, seriously, I think I'm gonna have to slip out a moment. I have a bit of an error.
Okay.
Yeah, let me slip out because Snob has disappeared on me again, and I know that's an issue.
Okay, Snob, can you?
I'm back. I bopped out for a second, and I'm back. I don't know why.
Okay, we might be having this weird problem, but okay, Dean, let's go with you.
I don't think I've got any more to add to what we've talked about. So yeah,
that's fine. Jeff,
who was the other Zathras-like creature that was on the gangplank?
Someone else from his race.
Yeah,
that's Sprague.
Well,
his name is Sprague.
Okay, well, we don't know that.
It's in the credits.
But clearly Zathras is not the last of his race or the only one of his race or whatever the case may be. So
yeah, he does mention at some point later that he's the oldest of the keepers or of the caretakers.
Yeah, but at any rate, that was the one thing that I was still left puzzled by. I was like, okay, who's this other guy? Because at first I was thinking, is this Zathras? And then Zathras, one Zathras that's from another time, and a Zathras, and I'm trying to piece it together on the second watch, and I'm like, I still don't know who the second He must be just somebody else of his race. So you know, but
there's a great line with Zathras in toward almost the end of this episode, and he goes, "Yes, yes, Zathras is used to being beast of burden to other people's needs. Very sad life. Probably have very sad death, but at least there's symmetry."
Yeah, Zathras does go into a number of these spy
It's like his wisdom is fantastic. I mean, it just, he talks, just the way he talks, it's just like you think it's very confusing, but it's also very wise of him,
it is. Yeah. It's there's some sort of strange logic to his statements.
Yeah, high wisdom, low intelligence.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking the exact same thing, Cam.
Okay, Jason, any wrap up for episode 1?
No, I'm ready to go.
Sure. Snop. I can't hear Snop right now.
No.
Nope.
Snob?
We don't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Okay,
Yes.
now we
Now-
can.
now.
Okay. No, I'm good to go. You guys covered it. You covered it all. I'm ready for part 2.
Okay, let's go for it. All right, so episode 2 actually starts out with a bit of a recap, which we just did, of course. We don't need to do that.
Yeah.
And then I think we start. We didn't talk too much about Sheridan, in the end of the last episode, but it rolls right into the beginning of this one, where he shows up on Centari Prime in
Londo.
presumably his future body. He's wearing different clothes, for example, so we know that
He is aged a little.
And right, he does look like he's got a bit of age on
A
him.
little gray. Yeah.
Londo's guards are kicking the crap out of him, and Londo seems very pissed, blaming him for the devastation that we end up seeing on Centari Prime, which I'm a little confused at because there's active fires going on, so it seems to imply that something happened recently, but maybe it's just kind of a bad situation. Like, let's say, well, I don't want to name anything, places around the world today. But and then we get this bit that Londo talks about how Sheridan, your war that you were so intent on, but you didn't clean up your mess afterwards, and that's implying that the devastation that Centari Prime is seeing is somehow Sheridan's fault. And then he sends him off back to his holding cell.
Delenn?
Yeah. Anybody want to? Let's talk about this scene. Oh yeah, and then he's
Well,
future Delenn.
We flip back to Delenn in the
Oh, that's
present
true.
day,
Right.
and she says,
With
"I just
Sinclair.
felt something." And she's like, "What is it? Well, you people call it walking over your grave."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do want to just quickly note that they paired up Sinclair and Delenn, as they're doing their work running around the station. Ivanova and Marcus go off. They're trying to create a distraction so they can do the work on, the caper portion of this with, Babylon 4. And then Sinclair and Delenn are kind of have some moments together. So that's kind of nice. But then there's this scene, and then they have this future scene with on Centari Prime. Dean, let's go to you on this. You can kind of talk about this whole segment, whatever you like here, anything you think is interesting.
I think this shows, I think, some of the forward planning JMS had on the whole of the Babylon 5 project, because we learned one thing, that there is a war with the shadows and that the side of light wins, but there's a consequence. Centari Prime is left devastated. I'm with you. You got all these fires burning and it looks like it's recent, but I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that was about 17 years ago they won the war. So this is 17 years after the Shadow War ends. And we don't know when the Shadow War is going to end. It's currently going on. And then Londo kind of, like, I'm going to send you away. And when you next come back here, I'm just going to have you killed. And at that point, Sheridan's brought back to the cell, but he then jumps back to Babylon 4, appearing in that corner, appearing in the corner, dropping his time stabilizer before he's pulled back to the cell and meets Delenn, which I think was, for Sheridan, that must have been quite something, because Sheridan's not where Delenn is with their relationship. He's right at the start of their relationship, and yet Delenn is obviously, their first kiss.
Yes.
Their
first kiss was in the future.
It wasn't her first kiss, but it was his.
It was his.
It was, yes. But I found that whole scene really touching. and the conversations they have, the fact they've got a child called David. It leaves you imagining what's going to happen beyond this. And for me at the time, it really got me invested in the longevity of the show, because I wanted to find out, how does all this come to pass?
And Delenn is pretty scarred, it seems, by this. She's talking about the horrible costs of all of it, that it was worth it, but the dreadful costs, or whatever she said.
Yeah, she does. And once you watched it, you might know what those costs are, but yeah, she talks about it was a terrible cost that was paid, but she would, they would pay it again. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one thing that bugs me about it is the city on fire. And there's nothing, because Londo says, here's the consequence of your thing. And if we're talking about the end of the war 17 years ago and the cities are still burning, the math doesn't math.
Yeah.
There's a line missing, there's a scene missing, there's something that doesn't, that there's a disconnect between the stuff what's going on out there and Londo saying, this is all your fault from 17 years ago. How?
And the palace seems fine also, right? The palace looks no different than ever.
Yeah. Well, and I think the other thing too is with Sheridan bouncing back and forth, and Delenn comes in and talks about, the cost and all those things. There's a scene, and I can't remember if it's in the first episode or the second. They're still on the White Star. And it was probably the first episode where they're about to go through the rift or something, and Delenn is standing next to Sheridan in the chair.
Oh yeah.
And they grab hands.
Yeah.
And the camera goes through them to Sinclair in the back.
Yep.
He gives an approving look.
He gives an approving look, and I'm thinking to myself, I wonder if the relationship between Sheridan and Delenn, I'm guessing, was likely supposed to be them, was supposed to be Sinclair and Delenn.
Yeah.
And circumstances being what they were. So now we have to pass the torch, because there was a chemistry between those two characters in the first season.
Yeah.
And then suddenly Sinclair's gone.
Perhaps they were married. We don't know for sure.
Yeah, and Delenn now suddenly has the hots for Sheridan when she comes out of the cocoon. It's like, well, hang on. What about her feelings for Sinclair? Is this what are we doing here? It's clearly a rewrite.
But I think you make a good point, Jason. That it's a nice torch passing moment for the show.
And I think it's a necessary thing. I think it's something that whoever is putting this thing together recognizes that you've got to have that. Otherwise, Sheridan is a usurper, not just in command of Babylon 5, but he takes Sinclair's girl.
Yeah. It's a subtle point, but I agree. I think you're right.
And you gotta Sinclair's got to be, because he's already approved of Sheridan being the commander.
Right.
Now he's got to sit there and say, okay, yeah, this is fine. They're gonna be great together. I have no worries.
Well, and also
just
with
likes anybody who's in charge of Babylon 5. She's
right. She's got Babylon 5 edition.
Power.
Okay, there is an in-story thing about this too, because again, I'm jumping ahead a little bit here, but Sinclair knows what's going to happen,
right?
And he's the current leader of the Rangers, right? And so it's like the satisfaction, Jeff, you mentioned it. He sees that it's kind of him saying, okay, I know it'll be left in good hands.
Right.
That's what I took from it.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about that whole thing with Dean was talking about. I mean, I found this a little bit, maybe not disturbing is the word, but just, she says the way that Delenn says it, she's like, oh, it was worth the fight, but the terrible, terrible cost.
Right.
Like, it's not just like, oh yeah, we had to kill a bunch. I mean, something very, very personal happened. And, she is somewhat scarred by what happens. It seems to me, the way that she talks about it, that's the impression I get
she's
from her.
traumatized.
So I'm thinking, what exactly happened? Like, it seems much more, we won the war, but, I am, personally very, very, psychologically injured after it. So I'm thinking, wow, this must be a real terrible war. I'm very curious to see what happened.
Maybe David
was a little bit depressed.
maybe David wasn't the only child.
Mm.
That's
I mean, I don't know.
I wonder. You know, maybe David had siblings, and those siblings were
Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just, you know, that's the only that knowing that she has a child and that David is safe, right? Because she does state that David is safe, and then, you know, saying, but the price, the terrible price, you know, and it's like,
Yeah,
what would a mother, what would be the worst thing that a mother, you know, the price that a parents could pay
Yeah.
would be.
And she also mentions the innocence that had gone away, had returned
In
in
his
his eyes. So
eyes.
something's
Yes.
happened. His innocence has
Yeah.
gone away. Terrible price has been
He's
paid.
going to make a ton of decisions that are really going to injure,
Weigh on his soul.
Weigh on his soul. Yes, that's a good way.
And Delenn as well.
And
yeah.
And maybe this David is David too.
Good
Interesting.
Callback to Leto.
That's not how that works.
Well,
it does in
Leto
Dune.
2, David 2.
Never
mind.
Okay, let me say.
Never mind.
Having
Whoosh.
had the argument with the kid about whether he's a replacement or not, no, that's not how that works.
Oh, right. Yeah. So, Dean, you mentioned that this sets up, you know, it's like it, you know, this is a huge bunch of reveals, right? But it also sets up like a new set, you know, it's like now the new bait has been thrown out to the future that, so even though we're getting answers, it's like now we got more questions too. And
Yeah.
I think it's brilliantly done in this. I think it's, which is why it's one of my favorites. Madman, did you have any comments on this bit?
Hang on, I just got a bit of an issue here. I'll be right
Okay, we're good. Okay, Snob, you mentioned Jeff. Did you have anything else you wanted to mention about this?
Well, I mean, you know, like I said, that, you know, I'm trying to think of what other terrible costs could be. You know, what did Mimbar suffer destruction? Did you know,
Well,
Earth or what? You know, I mean, we know that the Shadows obviously tried to unleash holy hell on the Centauri Prime for, you know, after, you know, kind of as retribution for his failure and his.
Well, and we've seen Londo's visions, right, of the shadows on Mimbar, or I'm sorry, on Centauri Prime as well.
Right.
And you know, there's another.
I'm back.
Okay.
Welcome back.
There was another bit that Delenn mentioned. You know, we built something that's going to last for 1,000 years.
Yeah.
Right. And then there was something else she said too.
Yeah, that's kind of like, you know, it's horrible. They built something. There's a very, you know, yin and yang back and forth with that. I was a little bit, that's interesting. You know, we built it to last 1,000 years, but yet it was the horrible cost.
Well, I mean, you can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs, I guess. But I'm sorry. Okay, Madman. What was anything else you wanted to?
Yeah, there was one thing I wanted to bring up. You know, with the appearing and disappearing of Sheridan. There's a great section with Marcus, Ivanova, and Zathras. Bring it up, you know, that Marcus goes, he's quite mad, you know. He actually thinks Sheridan's going to materialize there.
And then he does.
Marcus,
and then he does.
Marcus, we're sealing the station to fight a war that's over 1,000 years ago. We're all mad. And of course, what Zathras says, no one ever listens to Zathras. Quite mad, they say. It's good that Zathras doesn't mind. He's even grown to like it. Oh, yes.
That's why Zathras is a fan favorite, is because of
Oh yeah. Well, and Zathras was what coming up from the hole that they cut, right?
Yeah.
Where they you know, so that's when he's
like,
because he obviously he was obviously crawling up there and he overheard them, and he's like, that's when he kind of makes it. He's talking to himself pretty much at that point. But you know,
Zathras likes to talk to himself, you know.
He does. Zathras always does.
Well,
yes.
So there is I'm not going into the details of the whole Babylon 4 caper. I mean, anybody can talk about it if they want, but basically they're trying to rig the whole thing so they can fake out the crew of Babylon 4. So what happens is, you know, they get taken off, so they could, you know, steal it. So there's these back and forth things where, you know, they're out in space and they're trying to put the stuff on the reactor and all that. But
before that, we got to go back to Centauri Prime.
Right. So yeah, and that's so now, you know, after Delenn and Sheridan have this conversation, the guards come to get them. That's when they're going to execute them. They take them to Londo, leave them in there alone with Londo. Londo's drunk. We get the whole explanation of that, he's got this keeper, and if he gets drunk enough, he's discovered that he can basically reclaim his own thoughts. Now, clearly he's aware of his own thoughts, because he mentions like, oh, I put on a good performance, the whole thing, and that the keeper doesn't really care as long as it obeys what it wants. He doesn't care about the reasons and such. And then we see this thing, that's attached to Londo's neck, this gray glob, symbiote or whatever. And this is part of the effect of what happened, to Centauri Prime as a result of the end of the Shadow War.
See, I missed the gray glob both times.
Really?
It's attached to his
Really?
neck. Because when he
Yeah,
came
it's
out,
right.
of his
Yeah,
nose,
it's-
right
It
there,
only
it's
sh-
a
it
little
only
eyeball.
shows up when he's drunk. It
When
basically
it's
is
when
not
it's
when
yeah,
it's
when
asleep.
it's sleeping.
yeah,
When
when
Yeah.
it's
it's sleeping.
asleep. It's,
Yeah, it's like the Miletus. That's a Star
Uh,
Trek reference. Never mind.
Okay.
Meow.
That's a deep cut Star Trek.
So, and then, so Londo is very much more himself, he's completely different, demeanor and such, where before he was-
More Londo, like we would have seen probably in maybe first season.
yeah,
in the
he's
second,
he's more friendly for sure. Before he was like, yeah, I'm gonna kill you and everything, and
Yeah,
now
yeah.
he basically tells him, you can get away, there's a ship, you can get out of
Yeah.
here, and
Save my people.
but right,
says.
that all he wants is for them to try
That's
and
his
save
price.
Sinclair.
Yeah. That's his price.
And then he's telling them that they have to go. The thing's going to wake up. Go now. And a Centauri guard leads them out. And now we get to
The surprise
another-
scene.
another-
The
Well,
surprise
before you get to
reveal.
that, before you get to that,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
as they're getting down the hallway, Sheridan's about to pop back,
Mm.
Yeah.
and Delenn says, "If you anything, take this message back with you. Do not go to Zahadum. Please do not go to Zahadum."
Yeah.
You
That's
know.
interesting.
Yeah.
And we'll find out more how interesting that is.
I
but-
thought that was interesting too.
Foreshadowing, I'm guessing. That's one of those
Mhm.
I
future
don't know.
breadcrumbs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Foreshadowing.
Then
is
we
telling
switch back to
them
the throne room.
Yeah. Just one quick thing is Delenn and Sheridan did a great job of looking disgusted at Londo's thing. They just were like kind of looking like, oh my God, what is that thing? It's horrible. So we see Londo alone in the throne room as the thing is waking up, and
Somebody-
he says, is that you, my old friend? And Jakar pops out of the shadows,
Yes.
comes in, and he's like, yeah. And he doesn't say a whole lot, but he has an eye patch on, and he looks very ragged. He looks very aged.
Do you
Mhm.
think they will
And-
make it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
What was that? Name?
Londo says, "Do you think they'll make it?" He tells
Right.
him.
It'll
and-
wake before
well-
they escape. Yeah.
Right. Londo realizes that the thing is going to wake up before they're able to get away. And then he's basically like, you got to kill me.
Yeah,
And
'cause
and
he'll
so
set off
we-
the alarm.
And now,
Yeah.
yeah, because and he'll kill Jakar, and then he'll kill me next. Is basically the implication is he'll
Right.
kill.
He doesn't deal with betrayal well.
And now we get the dream
Right.
that has
Yeah.
been
Right.
foretold to Londo, and Londo has said for quite some time that that he sees a time where him and Jakar are at each other's throats.
From the
Yes.
very beginning, he
Yeah,
mentions.
from the
yeah.
very beginning on this.
And we've seen flashes of this scene before,
Mhm.
correct?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
And now we see it play out. So this is, again, a huge reveal. This thing that's been dangled in front of us since the very beginning, we see now what it's about. And again, well, I'd like to hear everyone's opinion. It's not what it seemed to be, right? It's like, oh, they're enemies and they're going to kill each other, but they appear to be somewhat friendly to each other at this point,
Mhm.
right?
Well, and they're almost doing each other a favor at this point because of the circumstances. But the context of it now throws this retroactive irony on the whole thing, because Londo acting on the idea that he's going to be, emperor one day, and he sets into motion all of this with the shadows, knowing somehow that he and Jakar are going to be at odds. This whole thing, I'm going to be emperor someday. And so that's the thing that informs all of the decisions that he's making. And now you go back and you look at it and the dream that he's got of him and Jakar killing each other, and it all kind of circles back in on all of this being Londo's fault.
Well,
and
it's also the assumption was completely wrong, right?
It's
It's
Right.
context.
The whole thing's based on a misunderstanding because he doesn't understand the context of his dream.
right.
So he's making assumptions about where this thing's going to go, thus setting in motion the things that go the way they go.
Yeah.
You know, it's almost like this circular thing. It happens because
Self-fulfilling prophecy.
Exactly. It's going to happen because it already happened.
Now,
Yeah.
notice Jakar, it has a patch over his eye.
Mhm.
Well, yeah, we mentioned that.
Yeah. What happened? The question is, what happened to that point? It's the same thing
Well,
with
we don't know.
Sheridan. And Sheridan has a scar on his face. You know, Jakar is on that. But here's the other part of this scene that's very important. Lady Morella's prophecy comes true.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You will
Londo
be
does
emperor.
mention-
You will
I've got
be
it written
emperor,
down.
and you will be emperor
When
when the other one is dead.
I've got it written down. I was getting
Yeah.
ready to mention it. Veer walks in and picks up the emperor's whatever necklace or whatever the
Amulet, I think it is, or,
Yeah.
or periapt.
Oh,
Yeah.
that would be a good word.
Now, here's the other part of this. Do you remember the 3 prophecies?
Yep.
Yeah, he mentions this as last chance, right?
You must save the eye that does not see. You must kill. You must not
You must
kill the
not
one
kill
already
the one.
dead. Already dead. And you must surrender yourself to your greatest fear, knowing that it will destroy you. Which one could that be?
Well, he with that him allowing Jakar to kill him was probably his
Maybe more
greatest
than
fear.
one.
Yeah.
But well, okay. Snob, let me go to you for what did you think of this? Again, this is a huge reveal. You know, this thing that's been put in front of us, and it's not what we were led to believe it was.
Yeah, I kind of seemed like JMS wanted to sort of end this thread a bit. You notice that Jakar starts strangling him, and then the thing wakes up, and then Londo. That's what I'm assuming happened. Wakes up, and then Londo starts, fighting back.
Right.
Well, and also if you noticed, Londo's eyes, the color of his eyes changed.
Yeah,
It changed
so
red.
So that's the symbol that now that the thing has awakened, and so they can now
It's in
actually,
control.
because Londo was first standing there and he's letting Jakar strangle him, and he's not
Right.
resisting or anything, and so now you've got the real prophecy where they both strangle each other to death. So I think
they are both dead at the end when Veer shows up.
that's right.
Yeah.
They're both lying
Yes.
on the ground, so they're successful.
You will be emperor when the other one is dead.
So they fulfill the prophecy. Good.
But
I'm surprised. I'm surprised. I didn't know how this was going to work out. It's kind of surprising. I think it's a pretty good way to do it.
did you expect to see it at this point revealed?
No.
Because, again,
No.
No.
Of course not. No, it's kind of a surprise. He's like, off you go, and then Jakar comes out of the thing, and I'm like, oh, Jakar. So it is kind of surprising, but a good way to solve that problem, fulfill that prophecy in a way that the reader, the viewer, would probably not expect.
Well,
But that's only one of the two of the prophecies. Of the 3 lines on there, you still have the other 2 lines that have not been explained.
Well, I'm talking about the original prophecy, strangling him.
Yeah.
I think it's the thing that I think is really cool about it is, Snob, you said, oh, he's kind of capping that off, but he is, but he's also opening up all these other things, all these other questions. You go, well, okay, so then how did they get to this point?
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought that was really cool.
How do they become friends? Or at least, I don't think that it's 17 years later, but are the Minbari and the Narn now good, happy friends, hug each other and everything? I probably think not. But the Centari and the Narn, are they now best of buds? What happened to the Narn? We have no idea. What's Jakar doing skulking around the palace? I would think that they'd still be angry at each other, and the Emperor's got his his best buddy who's a Narn who we hate and we destroy their homeworld just hanging around? There wouldn't be some problems with that. There's all kinds of questions.
His keeper.
It's still,
keep-
we're answering a lot of questions, but we're getting new questions to the situation.
And I think that's part of the what's good about these two episodes is because there's a lot answered, and that's what I'm like when I first saw this episode. I'm like, okay, there's going to be a lot of questions answered, and I was quite impressed or happy that other questions are put forward as well. And one of them is I'll just mention it. It's the flash of Delin, which we're getting to, where she sees the future and there's a woman in the thing, and I'm like, oh, another what's that about? So there's a bunch of them, including that one and plus these other ones. So good, right. well done. Good on the writing is my point, I think.
Yeah, I was totally surprised to see it this soon. I was expecting it to, this would have been more of a season 5, kind of near the ending of the series type of conclusion finale, but instead we get it. Well, we're not even done yet with season 3, so I was kind of like, well, that's interesting. And the question is, this scene very much matches his vision that he saw. Was it that this scene was actually shot back then, or was this just an excellent recreation of this situation?
Yeah, I think there was more to this one than we saw in the original flashes.
Yeah. I mean, I think you just saw Londo and him, but it does go to show that without proper context, you can have a vision of the future, and if you don't understand everything that you don't know everything that's going on that led up to that point, it's a very thought-provoking thing about be careful for trusting in just your pure visions without heeding the warnings.
Yeah.
Well, you get a sense that this is supposed to happen later on in the show, in the series, because of certain things. It was so, but we'll get into that later.
Yeah. Dean, I know obviously you've already seen it, but you can go back to your original recollections of seeing it. Was this a surprise to you? Was this?
It was. When I first watched this scene, I was on the edge of my seat. I was, we didn't have the internet. You couldn't do a lot of research. I say didn't. It was kind of in its infancy. But you couldn't do a lot of research. So in between seasons, there was a lot of speculation. You'd get together with other fans of the show and talk about stuff. So we had explored so many options, and to see this coming out, and then it, as you say, it threw up so many more questions. And we're there going, oh my God, this is incredible. What does this mean? Why, Jakar and Londo and this thing on his shoulder, and and then you're thinking, well, because of course you had the 3 prophecies, and I like a lot of other people jumped. This is probably the 3rd one, giving in to the thing he fears most, even though it would destroy him. But does that mean he's missed the other 2 chances he had? And then what does that mean? Those 2 chances are the eye that does not see, and must not kill the one who is already dead. So, as brilliant writing, as much as the questions are being answered, so many more questions were being flung in. And it's something I miss with today's shows, is that fan discussion you have, because there's so many unanswered questions and there's so many theories going around. And a lot of shows, they try and put into a neat bow, tie it all up. And
with binging, you don't get that chance either.
Yeah. I was in Florida at the time when this series was running, and I hit the comic convention circuit. I was going, and they were not big like they are now. These were like little cons that you go buy a couple comics. One of the ones I went to, James Doohan was there. I got his signature and all that. But you want to hear something funny? The conversation was mostly Babylon 5. and everybody was talking about it. And this is before they're mentioning these at the cons. Before Babylon 5 was a headline at the con. People were talking about this. They said, "Did you watch last week's episode?
What does it
Holy
mean?
shit! What does it mean? Holy shit!" People were like just were going nuts about. I mean, they were like arguing. People were like arguing. But good argument that no, it can't be. It can't be. Sheridan, no. It's like to that point.
It was great writing, and good TV.
Oh yeah.
Right. Okay. So, so that's basically the end of the that whole future bit there. Tying back into the caper, as I'm calling it, on Babylon 4, you've got Zathras, messing around with the spacesuit where Sheridan then showed up, and then he kind of talks to Delenn. He's like, "I'll talk to you later about it," or whatever. And then they're going out to work on the reactor, to put the equipment on there for the time travel, and then we start to let's see, what's the order of all this. They create the fake idea that the Babylon 4 crew is going to see that the reactor is going to go critical, and so that they're trying to get them to evacuate. And there's something where they get a power drop as part of that, and the major who is in charge of Babylon 4, who we'd seen in Babylon Squared, back for this episode because there is new footage with him. He comes in and says, "Oh no, crank it up because we can't afford to be without power. We're looking for invaders and everything." And I think I'm forgetting again. Ivanova and Marcus already had an encounter with security by this time, I think.
Yeah, they had.
Yes, they did.
Because they were the ones that activated the fake alarm to get the section cleared.
Right. Yeah, and then there's this bit with them. So they are proceeding with the caper, and then there's the I'm forgetting the exact thing, but Sheridan gets jumped out again, right? At that point,
Yeah,
when they
because
were both out there.
Sheridan's brought back and stabilized in the spacesuit, and those two go off with Sinclair and Sheridan go off to do the connection of the device to the fusion reactor.
Right.
So we then see them with the fusion reactor, that they connect the device, and that's when there was a drop in power.
Mhm.
And that's where the major says, right, increase power. And at that point, there's a surge where the fusion reactor is, and Sheridan's flung back in time or displaced in time again as a result of that.
Right.
And that's when Delenn.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And just I think someone mentioned already that basically we see Sheridan sleeping, Delenn creeping around in her quarters, and then she's playing with a snow globe, and then someone comes to the door, a woman says something, and then she drops the snow globe.
Yeah. Those irritating doors that seem to open at the most inconvenient times without any logic. Yeah.
There's no beep beep.
No, nothing like that. Didn't have to say open or anything. Just the door opens.
Well, Babylon 4 is such a safe place. People don't lock their doors on Babylon 4, just like the old days.
No, but that's not on Babylon 4.
That's not Babylon
4. I'm sorry, Babylon 5. I mean Babylon 5.
Yeah.
Well, and it's funny was when that flash happened. There's a couple of problems that I have with that. Because up until that point, nobody's experiencing those things except Sheridan is is bouncing back and forth, and we get a flash for Delenn. We get a single flash for Delenn. We don't get a flash for anybody else, and it's not a random thing. It feels like it's stuck in there to tease something that's about to happen. Because I recognized the voice of the person that talks, who was coming in, and was like, "Oh, okay, now this is about to happen." So she has that, and then I'm not going to get into it here yet because we haven't gotten to that point in the story yet. But there's another Delenn moment that had me scratching my head. I was like, "Hang on, that doesn't track," and it's maybe my memory that's not doing too well. But I thought that flash was interesting, that she's the only one that has it, and it's that specific thing. Like, what what's causing her to have a flash like that? Because it hasn't. Maybe I missed a piece of dialogue or something from Zathras or something that would set that up.
Well, I mean,
surprise. I was like, well, hang on, where did that come from?
see, but we have seen where they've had flashes, because as a big in proximity of this time rift. So, I mean, just because they've got a time stabilizer doesn't mean that they're not going to have a flash of an alternate or a different event from the future, past, whatever.
Who else?
I think the way it's
who else has
written
had a flash.
Yeah, I think the way it's written, it's everybody's had is having a flash, but we're sticking with Delenn on this part.
Yeah.
Well, I don't.
But we
is
don't
there any
see anybody
indication
else
that
have one?
Ivanova and Marcus didn't? But in Babylon Squared, we saw Garibaldi and Sinclair had flashes at that point. But in this one, I don't think the other two had.
Yeah, nobody else did in this one,
or at least they didn't show it.
Well,
okay.
Even if they didn't show it, somebody would say something about it.
Yeah.
Well, it was said in Babylon Square. It was in Babylon Square where he says, "Oh, those," because they says, "What was it?" When it first happened on Babylon Square, and they say, "What the hell was that?" It keeps happening. That we keep seeing flashes of past and future.
But if Susan and Marcus had that happen off screen in this episode, they would mention it. You're
right. You're right on that.
So we didn't have any indication that anybody else was doing it, which is why it felt so out of place.
Yeah,
because you're 2 seasons back that anybody else had a flash like that, and there's nothing to remind us. Oh yeah, that's what that is.
Because we know Garibaldi had the flash forward for.
Yeah, when they showed it again in this.
Yeah,
right. Yeah. So
let me ask you guys a question, because I'm having a blank on this. Is Sheridan popped out again while he was outside with Sinclair?
Yes.
And where did we see where he went, or did he just come back? He just popped out and then came back.
No, he reappears back in the corner by the ship where the ship breached Babylon 4, and I believe Delenn was there to see him return.
Right. And right. Okay. So he didn't go to any other place.
We don't see where he went in time. It's like he popped forward in time and appeared.
I was questioning that too. Where did he go and what happened? But we don't see. We don't.
It's almost like something was cut.
Yeah.
Let me try and jump through some points here, and then we could talk about anything anybody wants, just to kind of move it towards the end here. We just mentioned that about him coming. Now we also get the reveal that Sinclair has discovered that he's aged at this point. And then then we get Zathras is captured, and then that leads to other flashbacks, captured by the Babylon 4 crew. And then that's, where he was seen in Babylon Squared when he originally encounters Sinclair. Because now the ships from Babylon 5, they have jumped forward now too. So they're now 2 years in the past, or is it 4 years in the past?
They're 2 years in the past.
2 years in the past.
4 years from their present.
Right. So now they're at the time of Babylon Squared now.
Yeah,
is where they're residing, and so the ships from Babylon 5, including Garibaldi and Sinclair, are now arrived to help evacuate because of the fake thing that they've set up. And so now they're having all those encounters with their past selves running around here again with Zathras, and then they go back to getting the whole again, trying to get everything set. Oh, they're on the White Star at one point. Zathras is explaining to them this is very delicate and everything, and it goes wrong. That they didn't jump to where they were supposed to, which is how they did end up at the 2 years ago, Babylon Squared time. And then all that other stuff happens, and then Delenn gives Sheridan her time stabilizer, right?
Yes, and then she goes into the spacesuit.
Right. And so again, this whole Babylon Squared timeline, we see where the person in the spacesuit shows up and interacts with old Sinclair, season 1 Sinclair. Now, is that one was Sheridan though, right? At that point?
No, I believe that was Delenn.
That was Delenn also?
The one
Okay.
that was wait. So you're talking about the one in the promenade, the one that was
Yeah.
The one in the promenade.
no, that was Sheridan.
I think that
No,
was
because Delenn had Sheridan was shown having been removed and been given Delenn's time stabilizer.
When
Around
when
that
did that
time.
happen? I missed that. I
I
missed
might
that.
have this out of order because
Yeah,
Delenn is
so-
definitely the one that shows up to Zathras when he's trapped.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
No,
and I thought- when I looked
she's
at
coming
that,
out
I
of the
thought-
hole when he returns.
she
Right.
goes.
But when
'cause
did
he
she
even says
get
you're the
into
one.
suit? I never
Okay.
I never saw her get into the suit.
No,
Right.
you
No, they
don't,
didn't show
because
it.
that's what they
You
wanted
show
to
it.
keep to that
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
that-
They want to keep that as a reveal, and Zathras it refers to her as the one, and Sinclair as the one, and Sheridan as the one, and they
Yeah, but-
all appear in different places
Right,
in
but
the
when
spacesuit.
she takes the helmet off, and that was the other thing I was talking about. I was like, hang on, because I could be remembering this wrong, but in Babylon Square, I guess that person never took off the helmet.
They
Because
do.
I
he
thought
did
it-
not
I
take.
thought-
No,
I
Sheridan
thought it
didn't
was
take off his helmet till
Sinclair.
the end of the episode.
No,
You
I
did
thought
not
it was
see it in-
Sinclair and took it off.
Yeah, no. I mean, Sinclair didn't take off the helmet until later on. But
Right.
what you're thinking in the passageway, where it shows up in the suit, you're automatically thinking it's Sinclair, but it's
Yeah.
not
Right.
Sinclair, because at the end of that, you see when the helmet's taken off, it's Delenn.
Yeah, you're talking
Right.
about from Babylon when in Babylon,
Babylon
Squared,
Squared.
In Babylon
we see this
Square,
the guy in the spacesuit which wasn't identified until the very end, and the spacesuit guy encountered Sinclair when he got blown backwards and all that, and then at the end of that episode we see him take the helmet off and it's
Yeah.
Sinclair, and we
You're
think, oh, it
led
was
to
just
believe
right.
it's Sinclair. Yeah.
and
Right.
when Sinclair gets blown back, that's Sheridan in the suit still.
No, I honestly thought that was Delenn. That Sheridan had been swapped out.
See,
by
I
that
thought it was
stage.
Sinclair, or I thought it was Sheridan as well, but I don't remember why I thought that. So
I don't-
I
see, I
honestly
don't-
don't know at this
I
point.
never caught any indication that they'd switched.
No, because
Well,
you
there is a
have that
mention
scene
when
where you cut
Sheridan's
to-
sitting there without the suit on.
yeah.
He has the stabilizer, but it's not his stabilizer,
No, it's Delenn's,
It's
and
Delenn's-
that's when Zathras
it's
is
Delenn's
repairing.
stabilizer.
Then
because there's no
Yeah.
damage to it. He says there's no damage.
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
not my stabilizer. There's no damage to this.
but he's outside the
So,
suit,
but-
so
right.
Delenn has to be in that
So
So
suit.
is-
Delenn removed her, and she started to flux.
Okay, so she was trying to save him because we know that she gave him the stabilizer, and then at that point we didn't see it, but she apparently got into his suit that had the damage, or maybe not going to last very long stabilizer.
Yeah.
And is that why she was getting flying around? She ended up,
No, she didn't have a stabilizer. She gave Sheridan her stabilizer. She was without a stabilizer. She was. That's why
Okay.
it was a flux.
I understand,
that
but didn't
Zathras gave him.
okay.
Zathras gave. He says, "Here, take this." At this point,
But
Yeah,
didn't
and gave her
Zath-
then.
But didn't Zathras attach the broken stabilizer to the suit? And he was like, it's not going to last or something, right? Because that's
no,
why
he
Zathras
fixed
was
it.
meant,
He already fixed it.
right? But
Mhm.
it was powered by the suit, and the suit power wouldn't last, is what he said. So I thought what they were showing, and I could be wrong about this, but I thought it was like, yeah, it had a stabilizer, but it wasn't going to last, and that's
Yep.
why Delenn said, "No, you take the good one. I'm going to get in the suit that's got the one that's not going to last."
Yeah, maybe.
And,
Yeah.
and then then she had the whole encounter where Zathras gave her
The repaired one.
the other
that
repaired one.
would work.
Okay,
I know
so
it's.
I'm a little confused there, but long story short,
Timey-wimey.
yeah. Long story short,
Wibbly wobbly, timey
they're
wimey.
weaving all this together, in order to pull the plot together. Delenn does end up in the suit at the end that we saw when they're running and everybody's trying to get away, and Sinclair's trying to help Zathras, and Zathras says, "No, you have a destiny, you go." And
Yeah.
then the guy in the suit, which we, in Babylon Squared, we later thought was Sheridan, but as it turns out, it's Delenn, came back for Zathras.
For Zathras, yeah.
Okay, so a lot going on there, but it's basically all twisting around to try and make what happened in Babylon Squared make sense. And I think they do JMS did a pretty good job for the most part of weaving that in and with the flashbacks and everything.
He certainly confused the hell out of us, though.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah,
That's what he was writing. He was trying to confuse everybody to the situation because a lot of the changes that went on with this storyline from Babylon Square to War Without End.
I mean, this was basically a character shell game, is what what he was doing.
Yeah. So I talked a lot there trying to explain it. Let's go around and see. If
remember Marcus later, when he finds Sheridan there, Marcus says, "If you're here, who's floating around in the suit out there?"
Yeah.
Yeah, but then we never saw them floating around anywhere, though, right? They were just in.
Well, she was in flux.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So let's go around, and if anybody wants to comment on any of this, and then we'll move to the end. Dean, you got any?
I think we've covered a lot of it.
Okay.
And it's the one thing it caused me a bit of confusion the first time, but Ivanova gets into CNC when they're all evacuating.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming, because you see her put her hand on the palm reader, but I'm assuming that's her rewriting and probably locking security to them rather than the existing B4 stuff.
Yeah.
But it looked like she was trying to activate something, and I was there thinking, but if she wouldn't be on their records at all.
Well, did she activate the time jump again at that point? Because they spent some time in the rift, right? It wasn't like they just jump because
no, she can't. No, it's basically it is going to be activated to the point that someone's got to be there.
And the white star is attached, so the white star goes with it.
Yeah, and there was, because it shows the outside shot of B4 in the time flux. So the people have left, and it's in the time flux. But when they show them in CNC, you're looking out the window, and it's nothing but stars.
Yeah.
It's dark, and there are stars.
Yeah, continuity error there. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, I guess
they say that she's going to there because Zathras says, "Oh, it's a very delicate situation," and they say, "Oh, she can control the power levels better at the CNC," and then they won't have this problem.
She had to get to CNC
so that's why
to
she's
do
going.
that final adjustments. It was her putting her hand on the palm reader, and I was there thinking, is she trying to? Yeah. It was just strange.
One other thing I forgot to mention is Sinclair did try to send a message to Garibaldi as he was leaving, which is, because again, he knew about him getting shot.
Watch your back. Watch your back.
And that was dangerous. That could have changed everything.
Yes, right. That's what I was going to say. Is this seemed like it's like, did he just break? And it's like, I can't not try to help him. Because you're like you said, it was really a break in their protocol here.
Yeah,
but in a way, they're already trying to. I think they're trying to go for. We need a better outcome than what was going to happen. Anyways,
well,
I think they're kind of alluding to that.
Well, maybe that was put in there specifically because at the end of Babylon Squared, where he's like, "I tried to warn them" or whatever, and it's like, well. What warning would he have given them if not for that? So maybe that was just kind of
tying up Garibaldi, end.
What if Garibaldi did get that message? He's like riding out on the ship with Sinclair, and then he gets a message from Sinclair. It's like, how would he have taken that? But it didn't happen.
To answer Outpost, yes, I think she would have been on the roster, but she wouldn't have been given any security access to B4. It was way outside of her jurisdiction and her control.
Well,
but B4 wasn't fully activated yet.
Yeah, so I think it was her rewriting the security systems, probably locking out the existing people, putting their people in charge, and then locking it with the palm reader.
Yeah, because that was the whole premise of what her and Marcus were trying to do, was get access to the systems to begin with.
Yeah.
And the whole, I don't believe in luck, and then then he disappears, and then the two guards appear, and he's like, Mark, and then he knocks behind him, and then he accidentally knocks the panel open, and it's like, I don't believe in luck.
Okay. Anybody want to make comments about that before we get to the end scene here? The kind of the hearing now. Okay, so I'll try to make it short. So they're all together now. The Babylon 4 crew has escaped. They're sitting here, and Sinclair is like, "Oh, yeah, I'll make the final thing, and then I'll see you on the White Star." And then I think Marcus calls him out, right?
Yeah, he does.
It's basically like, yeah, you can't, you're not gonna be able to get back, are you?
It was my turn. It was my turn to flip out. I had a time jump. Sorry, guys.
That's right. That's we're very thematic with the show here. We like to keep it.
Thanks, Restream.
And so, they have this whole thing where, Sinclair basically says, yeah, I got to do this. And Ivanova is the one that kind of steps up and is like, no, I don't want you to do this, And he's like, I already did. And then they have this, and I'll let you guys comment on all this. They have the discussion with just the four, Zathras, and then Sheridan, Sinclair, and Delenn. They kind of dismiss Marcus and Ivanova, which was a little bit weird. But then that's the so let's go around again. Madman, let's start with you. And this is the whole part where Zathras is talking about the three and the one and the one and the one and all that business. Go ahead and
yes, it's Zathras. He says, Zathras, they ask him, he says, Zathras, you know this, why you keep saying this one situation? And he explains, says, Zathras, been around great machine, even before Dral. No things that even Dral has not foreseen at this point. I forgot the age on him, but he keeps his age. I'm sorry?
110.
He said 110 years old. 110 years old. Know that. But he said, he points over to Delaney and says, but you are the one. He said, but why, and they're trying to explain, he's trying to explain the whole situation on there. He says, everything in 3, Minbari, is warrior, religious caste, worker caste. And then goes through this whole, 3 segments on there. And he gets to the most important part that he puts to the point that there are 3 ones, and he points over to one. Yeah, he points to Delenn and he says, "You are the one that's now." And then he goes over to Sinclair and he says, "You are the one that was." And looks at Sheridan and says, "You are the one that will be. You are the beginning of the story. You are the middle of the story. And you are the end of the story."
Yeah.
And then he says to the point, he says, "You must go. I stay here with the one that was. Stand by his side." Yep. And that's to that point. And it's a strong point for Zathras to bring that up, to that explanation that these 3 people are very important to the universe.
Mm. Yep.
That Sheridan has started, Sinclair has started this. Delenn will continue this on, and Sheridan in the end will finish this.
Right.
We only do this.
Kind of makes you give you a little chills at some point. It gave me chills when I first saw this.
We only do this show so that Madman can practice his impressions, eh?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, that's what it is. Because one day I will be called, Peter did say I do good impressions,
That's okay. He really likes me more.
All right. Jason, what do you think about this this basket of information dump we get here?
What you're talking the last
the conversation with Zathras and the 3 ones.
I thought it was an interesting, nice little piece of symmetry. The thing that a lot of people talk about, fans talk about when it comes to these science fiction shows, and not just any one particular one, is the fact that we always get these humanoid aliens. They're bipedal, and just as a conceit, that everybody speaks the same language. Mm-hmm. And here you have Zathras, who, yes, he's bipedal, but his way of perceiving reality the way he conceptualizes what's going on around him, I think, is interesting because he has a different way of looking at it. Like this whole the one, 1 + 1 + 1 = 1. You guys are each the one, but you're all collectively the one, which you kind of got to look at it a little squinty eyed and think about it for a second and before it makes sense in the context of the conversation. And I thought that was a really interesting bit of business for him to give them all that. Basically, it's an explanation for clarity on who the one is, because in Babylon Square, you're the one, but you're not the one.
We are not the one. Well, because he wasn't the one yet.
Yeah, it even ties back to that. So it was. I thought it was a nice little, wrapping everything up with a neat little bow.
Yeah, and I think it was interesting that Zathras. I think you mentioned that Zathras is the one delivering this too. Kind of this outsider, weird, drop in, but he brought it together very well.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's that whole wisdom thing. He's got high wisdom.
Yeah. Jeff, what do you? Oh,
almost like this wraps up a lot of threads, like it was a finale or something.
I wonder if they didn't know if the show was going to go on to a season 4.
I think they did at this point.
Well, this isn't a season.
Expected
This wouldn't have been. This isn't a season.
It's not a season finale, but we've got to be getting close because what are we at? 16?
This is 16, 17.
16, 17. So yeah, I mean, what is there normally back then? We had normal
22.
episode seasons, 22 episodes per season. So
Well, Warner was still liking the show at that time period. Even though when we get to season 5, they switch over to TNT on that point. Because they go straight to cable from that point on. So basically, before it used to be the independent stations that, in my case here, was WWOR Channel 9 was running it here, and basically now you had to switch over to full cable.
Yeah, and I don't think WOR the network, the cable channel carried it.
No.
Let's.
Yeah.
We're running long.
He's been
here,
lost
but
in time.
Let's stick to the story here. I'm sorry, I lost track of who I called on. I went to Jason.
I think it was UPN at the time. On there or prior to the UPN.
All right, Dean, did I ask you to go talk about this part?
Yeah, I'm just going to echo Dave. I think the actor who plays Zathras is fantastic, very method acting. And yes, Chiana is one of my favorite characters in Farscape. I think the way the two of them act very, very similar in the way the whole body language becomes the character as well as how they speak. Very touching scene. And at this point, you're not going to see Sinclair again going forward. The prophecy, the prophecy that's been given by Valen ends at this point because Valen hasn't seen any further.
Well, because he hasn't.
Exactly.
And we'll find out that in a minute.
Yeah, let's talk about that in a second. Madman, did you have anything else on this or
no, that's what we're getting into the Valen situation.
Okay, Snop.
No, I agree. I mean, it's a good way to tie it up. It's Zathras has been pretty confusing with you're the one and you're not the one throughout the last couple seasons. So good way of sorting it out.
Sure. Okay, now the biggest reveal in my opinion, Sinclair is going to the past, and then we're reminded of this whole thing about that 1,000 years ago human souls started to be born into Minbari. Or I'm sorry, Minbari souls started to be born into humans, something about that. And then we see that, or Marcus mentions that, I think that, no, I'm sorry, I forget who mentioned it, but that it wouldn't be accepted. Babylon 4 wouldn't be accepted by the Minbari if
my people found Babylon 4 with a human aboard, they would not accept it. And then Marcus, dear God,
they didn't even know about humans at that point. And now, other from the fact, now there's a bunch of English writing all over Babylon 4, which we don't see exactly how that's explained. But then we get this whole scene. We see Sinclair with the Triluminary and setting up the whole thing. And we see flashbacks with Delenn and her transformation, and that it's being done in reverse here. And Marcus brings the Minbari, not born of Minbar.
But you're also forgetting the other flashbacks.
Go ahead.
The Soul Hunter going, "They're using you."
Right.
Yes.
They're using
There's a
you.
hole in your mind. Yeah.
Well, that was left out. That was unfortunately left out to that, and that would have been perfect in there. And then
Well,
you have
Maroon-
Maroon.
I thought that was in there. It was left out, was it?
I don't think it was.
There's a hole in your mind was not in there.
not in there.
Shame. That
And then
should
you
have
had
been in there.
Naroon. You sound like a Minbari captain. If you remember
Yeah,
Naroon.
Pat Sinclair.
Yeah.
Commander. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And so then we see this, and then we see him behind the gauzy, whatever, snotty stuff, of the cocoon, the cocoon wall, and then we see, it's okay, 1,000 years. It gives us the header or the footer there. It says 1,000 years ago, and you see the
Minbari
a small
boarding
group
crew,
of
yeah.
Minbari ships approaching, and they land on it, and then Zathras greets them and says, "Oh yeah, expecting you, whatever."
Oh,
and
come.
Been waiting for you.
now they look like warrior. They look like
This
warrior
way.
caste, but there is no warrior caste at this point. I think there were clans.
Well, that was that was one of my questions. Were the 3 castes established at this point? Because
No, because Valen sets up the caste system.
Yeah,
Does he?
but there
he
might have
sets up
been
the Great Council. The cast
Yeah.
and all that.
But I think there were warriors though, because
Yeah.
there some other supplemental material that I had read was how, well, whatever the case is, the system is certainly not set up, because we know that's Valen does that. But they show up. They're dressed like modern warrior cast guys. Pretty much.
It is listed in the scripting as 2 Minbari warriors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though it might not be a caste system, the warriors still existed. And we know they have these clans that are ancient. But he takes them, and they come into this large hall, and you see a long shot, and you hear Sinclair talking, and you see these 2 angelic figures floating above their encounter suits.
Yeah, the
Vorlons,
Vorlons.
clearly.
Which are Vorlons, and looking very much like the one that we saw in Minbar, I think. The encounter suits,
the encounter suits with the
dark
same design.
Yeah,
Or
and,
what they saw Kosh look like. What the Minbari saw Kosh look like.
right. Yeah, they didn't have a real close shot of them, but I think you're right that it looked like whoever.
Because they kind of, in that episode, they kind of went through, what this one saw, and what this group saw, and what that group saw, and everybody saw something slightly different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he says, "I'm," basically, Madman, you might have the quote, but he basically says, "I'm Valen. I bring you this gift.
I bring you this gift. We have much to do.
Yeah, much work ahead of us.
We have much work ahead of us."
Yeah.
And now this, and I'm happy to hear everyone's comments on this, because it's, again, a huge reveal. But Dean, you mentioned about the interesting, the whole the Minbari prophecy we've heard of, through kind of scattered throughout. It's all comes from Valen, right?
Yeah.
And now we see this whole thing. It's like, well, why? Because he knew history, right? He was able to do
he
these
lived
things.
it. Yeah.
Right. And so it's the circle, like the Vorlon says again, he's the closed circle. He is this whole bit, and well, it is a circle. It's, he knows about these things, so he goes in the past and establishes them, and because he established them in the past, he knows them in the future. And well, let's just go around. I'll save myself for last on this one. Let's start with Snob. Put him on the spot and see what you think about this.
You guys, you covered everything. It's pretty straightforward. I wasn't. Those are 2 Vorlons. I guess I wasn't sure. It seems obvious they're Vorlons, but I wasn't quite sure during the shot. But it makes sense. The Vorlons show up, and they would, help to, buttress Valen for showing up. I'm sure they give him some legitimacy, being, an old, the old race. So it makes sense that they would be there. And I guess they must know that this is happening. I don't know. We don't know enough about the Vorlons. Somewhat surprising, but I kind of like at the beginning of the episode, like, wait, I was like, is he Valen? Is he going to do the whole thing? And so it's confirmed. Yeah, I mean, it's a good ending to it, I thought.
Okay. Jeff.
So the surprising, I loved the scene. I thought it was fitting that the Vorlons were there. Clearly, he knows what the Vorlons are, I guess, at this point. He must have some sort of understanding, but yet Sinclair never actually encountered the Vorlons like Sheridan did. So
Well, we don't know what kind of interaction he had with
during
him
the time after Babylon 4 moved. Yeah.
Well, no. Well, you might be right about that too. Well, that's a whole question. But I mean, he was on Mimbar for 2 years, and we know that Vorlon was there. So
But
he might have had.
but he did. I mean, the Vorlons are very cautious about revealing themselves because of, So how did he know? I'm sure maybe the Vorlons.
Well,
knew,
I think the question here is, how did the Vorlons know anything about him in the past? What could he have? I mean, he had knowledge of the future, so he could have encountered the Vorlons and said, "Look, I'm from the future," and that's why the Vorlons.
And the Vorlon technology may have been able to detect that.
Now, did you guys? Right, and did you guys notice there were Vorlon ships outside of Babylon 4?
Yeah, there were two ships outside.
So the ships of these two Vorlons, presumably.
Yeah.
But that's the question that I was asking is, well, why? Because again, like he appears with the Vorlons, which is a huge, bit of credibility, and that was where I was asking.
Didn't they, in this scene where Sheridan was saved, didn't they claim they saw Valen?
No, Valshara, I think it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was the one thing I'm like, because Valen, obviously they had alluded to Valen being this messianic figure or something like that, but it wasn't quite clear if he was angelic or if he was something more or something different. Clearly, we know now he was something different. Valen is Sinclair. So,
right.
I was not expecting him to do the transformation in reverse. And I could only surmise that the technology that was used was perhaps one of the things that was brought on board by Zathras from Epsilon 3.
Paradox.
Yeah, because there was there's a bigger table, because when Sheridan shows back up and they're offloading equipment, he takes something that looks very different from everything else. It looks almost like an art table, almost in the size and the shape of it. It's very different from all of the different packages that Zathras keep bringing on.
Yeah, with all the little time stabilizers.
For the time stabilizers. So I'm wondering if maybe that was the cocoon machine.
Yeah, the triluminaries were created on Epsilon 3.
Really?
Yeah, and then they were given to Valen, who went back in time, used them for the first time, and thus ended up in the hands of the Great Council and in Delen's hands for her transformation.
That's okay. That's very interesting.
So paradox.
Well, okay, but this is so. I mean, if you want to, it's this loop, but
in a way, I mean, he could have given, when he wrote the letter for Delen, that was supposed to be opened at some point in the future, he may have, provided that to her with the Great Council, or been provided. That may have been, the Triluminary may have been provided by Valen, aka Sinclair, knowing that Delen was going to be the one that would get it.
Well, that would have been the perfect way, because that way the Triluminary never got created. It was merely looping in this time zone.
Yeah, that's the thing. So this all originated with the Great Machine, then,
right?
So it's there is a start point. It's not a loop, not a closed loop, right? I mean, there's a starting point and then it goes into a loop, right?
Well,
Because it starts with the Great Machine to Sinclair, which goes back in the past with Valen, which then comes to the Great Council, where they use it at the Battle of the Line to recognize right Sinclair, and then it goes to Delenn, who then uses it to transform herself.
Yeah, and it's still with the Grey Council at this point. They just get the original one that, or rather the early version of it that gets sent back in time.
Well, I'm gonna blow your minds at this point.
Yeah.
You remember Catherine Sakai?
Yeah.
What do you think happened to her?
Yeah, there's supplemental stuff about her.
Actually, there is canon. There is canon on this.
Well, that's what I mean. Not
his
in
girlfriend?
the comics.
His
Dream in a
girlfriend?
City of Sorrows and in Valen's name. And this is where the time thing comes in. Sakai does disappear. And she does end up 1,000 years in the past. And she does end up to be Delenn's ancestor.
She's Delenn's what? Ancestor?
Because
Well,
there is a story she gets trapped in the rift at one point in the storyline.
Wasn't there something about that Delenn was Sinclair's, or Sinclair was Delenn's ancestor?
Yeah, well, no, she went back in time, supposedly through the book in Valen. This is where we're going to get into a lot of the other stuff that should have been, would have been, could have been. Sakai went back and actually did marry Valen at the point, and this is where the part of the Minbari and human coming together to this point. So basically, Sakai was taken back in time, ended with Valen. They had children, and of course, children upon children in the Minbari situation.
Oh.
And Delenn was one of those children. And this is from the canon books.
Okay,
and the comic.
And this is the part that was mind blowing for me. It's like, this whole mystical thing. These Minbari souls are being born into humans.
Mm-hmm.
Is really just humans in the past intermixed with Minbari, right? So it's I don't know, that's really cool to me. It's like this whole prophecy that's like, it's this one thing that you think it's like, they're bound in this way by some kind of fate thing. It's like, well, not really. It's just because Valen, was a human.
Right.
I mean, I guess he really became a Minbari the same way that Delenn has become partially human. Well, I guess she always was partially human.
But, right. It just revealed her. It revealed her humanity. Her human DNA came out.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the show did not bring this forward because you notice Catherine Sakai, she disappeared completely when we got into season 2. Nothing was said of her after that, to that point. But there was canon novels and comics that were made that continued the stories in between these seasons.
But let's say that you don't know anything about that, or that it didn't exist. Valen still went into the past. Sinclair still went into the past as Valen and was a human that could have, because of his transformation, interbred with Minbari, presumably.
Mm-hmm.
And there would still be human DNA.
There was still human DNA,
right?
To the
and the human souls. Then
remember, season 1 with the Triluminary, that it glowed on Sinclair,
right? Because it's attuned to him in some way.
They recognized him.
And so
it had transformed him. That Triluminary had transformed him.
Right.
1,000 years
ago. Or will transform him, depending on what perspective.
Well, no, because the original one was still on Epsilon 3. That was the one that was used to create Valen in the first place, having lived over 1,000 years since the Great War. So, yeah.
Mm. Okay, so the thing that's like, that is so cool. It's like, so this is like Genghis Khan, where maybe he has a million descendants or something like that, some percentage. But this whole thing about like, and the greatest of the Minbari souls have been born into humans. That was something they mentioned at one point. It's like they're declining, and then they're going to this. So the whole reason why they're intertwined with the humans at this point is based on a lie. or a misunderstanding, it's like that's a pretty big thing to deal with in this show, right? It's like the lore that has been presented has just been revealed to be something completely not completely different, but to the side,
It's from a certain point of view.
Yeah.
and I'm coming up with a question that's just now hit me, because they sit there and they say, well, the reason the Minbari stopped the war is because they realized that Minbari souls were being born in humans.
Right.
So the question is, have they had no way of detecting this all this time? If there's human DNA in the lineage of Minbari, it would have shown up somehow in some scan somewhere to give an indication that there's a certain line of Minbari that are genetically different from everybody else. In which case, once you encounter the humans, I imagine there's probably going to be some dissection, because we kill them, we'll split them open and see what makes them tick. At some point, they'd have to discover human DNA and go, hang on a minute.
Well, maybe that was concealed by the warrior class.
Maybe.
Okay, but do we know? We don't know the nature of his transformation, though, do we? I mean,
That's true.
Because was he rewritten completely
Outpost is
biologically?
Yeah, but if the girlfriend goes back, and again, now we're getting into ancillary stuff, extended universe type stuff. So it's canon or not canon, whatever. But if she goes back, did she get transformed into a Minbari as well, or did he just deal with her and she was his mate as a human?
Well, and the other thing is, the Triluminary lit up, when it was brought to Sinclair specifically. Did it light up with anyone ever at another time? I don't know. And maybe it's because it was attuned to him specifically or something. But
Outpost does point out something interesting about the Battle of the Line. They said they need to study at least a human before we kill them all. Oh, and Dean disappeared now.
No.
He's popped out. He'll be back.
There we go. Okay, so
forward or backwards there, Dean?
Who hasn't got a chance to talk about this whole ending thing? I think I started with Snob and I ended up jumping in. Jason, did you have anything else you wanted to say?
No, I'm good.
Okay, Jeff, did I ask you already, right?
Well, I mean, not
or anything else.
Not much. My biggest thing is I kind of the opinion that the Triluminary is the same Triluminary. Whether it was the one that Sinclair used to become Valen and the one that Delenn used to become more human. And I do like the whole explanation that does that backstory that was brought up that I'm not aware of because I haven't read the comics or the books or anything like that. But that does kind of give some credence to it. And what Outpost says is valid too. I could see that them just trying to go and obliterate the enemy and not care what, they're destroying them. Why bother? Why bother looking at what their enemy is?
Yeah.
Okay, quick note. I was just searching for this, and it said that the Triluminaries were programmed to respond to Valen's DNA, which would be to say Sinclair's, I guess, or whatever Valen's was transformed into at that point. But then clearly it responded to Sinclair before he was transformed, in the Battle of the Line. Because
his DNA probably
it's 100%
correlated.
Yeah.
And then if the case is that Delenn is a descendant of Valen.
Well, but if that's the case, we don't have any indication. Well, maybe it did. Maybe it did light up with her, and we just never saw it before. I don't know.
It could be a test.
At the end,
that's done as part of a Minbari ritual to confirm who is a descendant of Valen and who isn't.
It could be, yeah.
It's a DNA test, and they thought, we got a human. Let's do a DNA test on the human. Oh my God, it's a descendant of Valen.
Yeah,
could also be somebody that this person should definitely be in the religious caste.
Absolutely, yeah.
because the religious cast would help keep the balance. At least up until the point where we recently were, where the warrior cast took over and had 2 positions or 4
4
positions.
positions. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay,
But-
Madman. Did we anything else you wanted to add on this?
No, I think we're on there. Oh, also we know that now Sector 14 is completely shut down as far as the time well, I call it the time tunnel is
Yeah.
basically shut down. But Delenn mentions that there are others in the galaxy.
Okay. Well, I think that brings us to the end of this. Snob, how do you want to do final thoughts on this and then go to the alternate stuff, or what do you want to do?
I was thinking do the alternate stuff first before the.
Okay. Madman, you want to
Yes.
present that?
Okay.
Should we want to do this video here first?
I'm sorry.
Do this video first.
No, let me hold off on the video. I just want to give this explanation where this information comes from. Basically, there is a 15-volume set. It's hard to get. It is called the Babylon 5: The Scripts of J. Michael Straczynski. The piece I'm going to be using is from volume 15, which is part of the scripting was and what the scripting is now on certain parts of Babylon. The Sinclair Sheridan storylines onto there. I'm just gonna focus a little bit onto this. Now, first thing that comes out, and we hear Minbari souls to comes from the human souls to the situation. The original storyline is that the Minbari race was dying, and that's in the original. When we get to the Battle of the Line, we know Sinclair's fighter is captured. Now, the difference between the 2 arcs is that basically Sinclair is taken aboard. He tries to ram the ship, taken aboard. The original arc, there is no triluminary. Basically, he's tortured on there, but a Minbari looks at him and sees that there's something in him, and that there's something special about him. And basically, that's where the point where they decide to stop the war. But at this point, the warrior cast, upset to this situation, desert the religious cast at this point from the ships. Whereas in the new arc, we know that basically, they had the Triluminary. Basically, the war was stopped. One of the members of the warrior cast committed suicide, and that became the Trafalgar, the Trafalgar that disappeared, that went into self-exile to that situation. Now, moving forward a bit, and I just wanted to put to that point, so at least we have on there. Let's bring up the video now first. I just want to put this into perspective with the video also. Now, this is the scene basically from the ending segments of Babylon Square and War Without End. And as you see, the two exact scenes themselves. But both of these scenes are different to the point. As you can see in the War Without End, you see Delenn. In Babylon Square, all you see is an arm holding him in a more sort of how can I put it? That there's more than friendship to this point.
Yeah.
Which basically in the original arc itself, there is no Sheridan. As we go into the next season, the relationship is with Sinclair and Delenn. That's why you see it the way it is in Babylon Square. You don't see it in World Without End. You see her talking to him and she walks away. Here, she puts his hand on the shoulder and then they walk off. Now, putting to the point, and this is where it gets a little crazy. The Babylon 4 in the original text, the original scripting, does go into the future. It does not go into the past. Sinclair is not Valen in this, and I'm going to read this directly from the arc itself. what happens at this point? The Shadows attack a Volon vessel that is carrying a large portion of their population, killing them. The Volons blame Earth for the attack. False intelligence is given to Earth, showing that Sinclair is a traitor. Londo and the Centauri want Sinclair dead, as he knows who the real attackers are. As the events spiral out of control, the warrior castes stage a coup and exile the Great Council. A death sentence is passed on Delenn for her transformation, as they believe it is a threat to their race, and Sinclair. The Minbari launch an assault on the station as Sinclair and Delenn and their infant son and Garibaldi escape in the last shuttle. You saw that when the Babylon 5 explosion, you saw a shuttle leaving the station onto there.
Right.
Hiding in with the exile with the Great Council and needing a new base of operations, Sinclair, Delenn, and Zathras go back in time and steal Babylon 4, pulling it forward into the future, stopping in 2258 to let the crew off. Sinclair and Garibaldi of this time mount the rescue mission, getting everybody off before the station is pulled forward in time. The unstable time field prematurely ages him, Delenn, and their son, who rapidly becomes a fully grown adult. Both Sinclair and Delenn use a VR cybernet helmet to equip him with the knowledge and experiences, but he is still emotionally a child with the wonder of all things that it brings. Babylon 4 is renamed Babylon Prime and utilizes as a mobile base of operations and tries to bring an end to the wars raging in the galaxy and clear Sinclair's name. A new alliance is founded with Sinclair and Delenn's son as the head. Delenn takes her place as the reformed Great Council, forever separated from Sinclair. That's the original plot line.
We should have set this up a little bit stronger. So this is so we know that Sinclair, Michael O'Hare, the actor who played Sinclair, couldn't carry on with the character after season 1. He was replaced by Bruce Boxleiter for season 2, and that necessitated some changes. And so what Madman is talking about is basically focusing on how things have changed up to, we went a little bit farther than that, but these 2 episodes are very different than what they would be if we had gone, if Sinclair had maintained, if the actor Michael O'Hare was able to, maintain his, the character of Sinclair throughout. So that's what, this is, correct me if I'm wrong, the original plan.
The original plan. I left some things out because it actually kind of, we haven't gotten to those episodes yet on this, which is the end of this season. We'll come back to that on the review of this season, but there are more things to this.
Yeah, can I just get a bit of context?
It's volume 15. It's volume 15. It's basically this. These are books of the scriptings, everything from all the movies, everything from the TV series, everything that went through JMS's mind, put on paper into novels. These are hard to get. If you could find them, you're going to spend between like $50, at least minimum $50 per volume on this.
Yeah, I'm not sure, Dave. I'm not sure you're, provide more details on this volume script you mentioned. How is it presented? I'm not sure what you mean by that, but I guess I don't know. I think Madman, you answered that question. Perhaps.
So you said
basically the way it's put, it gives you the original arc, and then it gives you the proper arc that it became back and forth onto that scripting. On there.
Did they get partway through the filming of season 1 before they had to do the rewrite?
Well, no, you had the Battle of the Line and all that. There was some changes even in the first season on this.
Yeah, so when they did Babylon Squared, was the intention that it was going to be put forward to the old script, and then they realized they needed reshoots. So when they did Battle of the Line, they could bring in the telemetry to effectively identify Sinclair.
Right. In the original one, there was no triluminary. Yeah.
But they had to rewrite that because of the health situations with Sinclair and yeah. Okay, so that's actually right. That's very interesting. So the original filming of Babylon Squared was the intention of it being brought forward in time. which is why it always felt like it was going forward in time.
But remember what
after that
Zaslav
episode.
said, that it goes into the future. They've never put that onto that book. Yeah, Dave, it is printed, but the problem is finding it on there. Check the internet database. You might be able to find it on there. I know 2 or 3 volumes have been on the internet, leaked on the internet database.
So just you mentioned this to me earlier. So this is JMS has a bunch of different volumes of everything that he's written a script for. The majority of it being Babylon 5, and that's been put out and published. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So,
it's like
so
it's
you're
like one
reading
whole.
from
There's one whole book that just does all the movies, Third Space, and all that to that point. There are certain volumes that sort of concentrate on certain episodes because there were certain particular changes that they made that were very detailed that he changed on there. Racing Mars is one of the episodes that he's made some detailed changes to that point. Not trapdoors, but a little bit more in depth to that situation on there. I mean, there was a lot of detail. I mean, I wish I could get my hands on these books. I mean, all I've seen is just the pages on the internet.
Yeah, and so as Outpost Nerd has mentioned in here, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but Michael O'Hare was having some sort of medical problem during the season, the filming of season 1.
He had some mental issues.
He made it aware, JMS aware of it at some point. I'm not sure if we know exactly when, if it was like episode 1 or episode 22 at some point. So he knew about it. And at some point he's going to make some changes, and then of course at the same time I guess he'd be considering trapdoors and making changes to some aspects of the season in order to anticipate what's going on.
I think he built trapdoors in throughout the whole series just because of that's how things work, and he wanted to be able to have outs. And I think he felt empathy for what O'Hara was going through, and he tried to get him help, didn't he? And actually did get him help, from what I understand, and encouraged him to try to participate in some of the con type events and stuff like that. So it wasn't like he left on bad terms, but there were issues, from what I understand, having seen some of the documentaries or the commentaries, that it became problematic during filming, where sometimes he would be a little off and causing issues among the cast. And once Boxleitner came in, things got much better. I mean, it was just kind of an immediate improvement. So, but I think he always felt bad about the problems that O'Hara had. So these 2 episodes was really kind of a way to give his character some sort of completion, to bring it to a proper closure. Yeah. So, and I think he did that as a respect for O'Hare. I mean, we've had our criticisms of him. Certainly I have, of his acting style. I know often, particularly in season 1, I would say he was very much a lot of his acting came off like 70s police cop, police drama, or medical drama, or something like that, kind of over the top a little bit, but also kind of wooden and hollow, and I know Jason, you and I have had gone on this, talked about this too during these episodes. So,
and I think by this point in the, this is 2 years after, so the situation might be much more stabilized and
manageable at this point.
Manageable. Sure.
And we mentioned Catherine Sakai now. We mentioned what is in that point. Now, what is her original arc? Now that we're going to have to wait a little bit till the end of season 3, but I do have the information from this book. Basically, Catherine Sakai's part in this story, and she has more of a bigger role in this story arc, in the original story arc, than what they did. That they just literally just wiped. They just made her disappear.
Just disappeared. Yeah. We'd never to be seen from again.
Yeah.
All right. Are we ready to go through
And
to
here's
final? No, you got some more.
There's one more thing I
and then
do
we'll
want
go
to bring
final
up.
thoughts.
Yeah, one more thing, quick. We've seen all these things, the visions that all that, and every one of them has come true. Babylon 5 is a vision. It's destruction. Do you think that basically the destruction is over, or do you think that basically it may be still out there, that possibly that Babylon 5 will be destroyed down the line? Because everything has come
Spoilers now?
true.
Well,
No, it's not spoilers. No. Think about it for a minute.
okay.
Everything that has come true, everything that has been, whether it's been Lady Morella, the other one before that, the dreams, all of that's come. There's still more to come. There's still stuff from Londo's dreams that are still out there, but everything has come in one way or another true.
Well,
So is it possible that
there can't be a Valen-based version of that because it didn't happen. He's plucked out now, right? He's plucked out and put into the past. So
right?
nothing.
That's plucked out. But could there be possibility that that Babylon 5's fate is still, is still
Sure,
there?
just
You have to ask
just
that
not
question.
predicted by Valen.
Right.
Not by Valen.
Yeah, I mean, there's always the potential that they literally do set Babylon 5 up as the ultimate trap, the ultimate, set it up to destroy the shadows once and for all, or something like that. That type of thing, or it's the ultimate. Let's entice them to come in and then destroy them all. I could foresee something like that happening, certainly. Where it literally was planned to be destroyed by the crew for that purpose. I mean, they would
We don't know.
evacuate
We
all-
don't know. But like I said, everything to this point has come true.
Yeah,
we
and
have to
again,
look
it's
at that
context.
perspective.
It's always context, because it may not be that it was destroyed in actuality by them, but this was a planned thing that but what we've seen has been just a premonition, but nobody knows what it actually is, type of thing. We don't
Because
know.
every time you see it destroyed, there are no ships around. There's nothing. Well, actually, there was that one with the escaping ship, but most of the other visions is just you're seeing it being destroyed. How? It's never. It's all we know is the warning. It says you must leave here. It's going to be destroyed.
Well, I'm going to say that Babylon 5 is going to be not destroyed, and everyone's going to be happy, and everyone lives happily ever after.
Yes.
All right. Good.
We're a fairy tale.
Okay. Are we ready to move to final thoughts?
Yes.
Okay. Let's start with our man from across the pond, Dean. Go ahead.
Well, as a two-parter goes, I think it's great. It wraps up a load of the sort of questions that were asked. It creates a whole host of new questions. It's TV at its finest. Only a couple of things irked me, but they were very, very minor. I got to be honest, I'm going back to how I felt the first time I watched this, and it was a 10 out of 10. And I think to how I watched it the other day, for me, I think it's still a 10 out of 10. It's a cracking episode. You got lots of touching moments between the old actors and new actors, and a great handing over the torch to Bruce Boxenliner to truly be the commander of Babylon 5. So I think it's great. And one of the biggest storylines that, one of the biggest reveals that had an impact on the culture back in the day. So I watched this with fond memories, and for me, it's a 10 out of 10.
Man.
I have to agree with Dean. I'm going to have to give it a 10 out of 10. Yeah, there was a couple little things in between. Like he said, this is television at its best, at a time period where you had so many pilot shows and season shows that were coming in and out. You can mention down the line everything. Babylon 5 happened to be one of the best of the best. When you came to this episode, and like I said, when I saw it back, I was in Florida, I was, it gave me shivers to the point, I had goosebumps, I said, holy shit, this was Valen. This is the guy that they kept talking about, and he's like, oh yeah, they kept like saying it in the background. Yeah, there was a guy named, and he was not a Minbari, not of Minbar, and then they would cut them off at that point. And now we've gotten to the point. Also, we've gotten questions answered, but now we have new questions, especially like who came in the door, in that flash of time forward in Delen's mind, that what was going on.
I know who.
That's one of many things. Oh yeah. No, Jason, come on, really. Let me play this out. No, but we don't know who this is. Basically on there. I mean, those of us who are racing it.
If you recognize the voice of the actress, you will know who it is.
Exactly. If you recognize the voice, and yeah. But
see, that's what got me. It's like, did they bring her in just to record that one line?
Right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but still, there's a lot more questions. Centauri, what happened to Centauri Prime in those 17 years? Why is it on fire? What's the point? What happened? What is that creature that is sitting on Londo's shoulder? What is that thing? Is it one of the the minions of the shadows left over from the war? We don't know. We're going to have to wait and find out. And 10 out of 10.
And what is that terrible, terrible price they paid?
Yeah, and what's that terrible price?
All right, Jeff.
Oh well, man, that's a high bar to follow. I think this, leading up to this definitely was an excellent episode, and I think the decision to do both of them back to back was the correct one to make, because there's no way we could have gotten away with discussing just one episode and then the other.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it was. Man, it was so good. It was great to finally see Minbari. The Valen, I'm sorry, Sinclair, saying Sinclair, did not surprise me at all. I kind of expected we were going to see Sinclair, and maybe going down the internet rabbit hole spoiled a little bit for me, but overall, I was surprised in the end to see Sinclair transforming himself into Valen. I did not expect that. I figured he was just the human, and he was a Minbari, not born of Minbar, and so he looked human. But apparently, no, he looked like a Minbari, so that kind of took me by surprise. I loved that, how much things matched the Babylon Squared episode and fit in quite well. There were a couple of minor things, like I said, there was a little bit of confusion, I think, that was apparent even in our conversation earlier, where we were kind of like, well, wait, who was in the suit at which time, and this and that and the other, and the whole shell game, who's in the suit, but overall,
what's in the box?
Yeah, what's in the box, right? Yeah, what's in the suit? But man, I'm hesitant to give it a 10 out of 10.
Coward.
I'll give it a 9. I'll give it
Boo!
only because I don't know if it could get better.
Yeah, but if it gets better, that's another 10 out of 10.
Yeah. Fine, I'll give it a 10 out of 10. Jeez.
You're one of these players that finishes with an inventory full of potions.
Yes, I am. I am. I don't get rid of anything. I am a walking inventory creature.
Just give it 11 thumbs up. All right.
Yeah, 11 thumbs up out of 10.
All right.
No,
Good.
It was great.
Jason.
Well, okay, I will be the voice of dissent. I'm not going to say 10 out of 10. 8.5, 9. I had a couple of quibbles. The whole Delenn thing in the suit bothers me because there's nothing. It's not clear that there was a switch until and really even when he sits there and says this is not mine, I was like, what did I miss? It just feels like there was something that got cut from the episode.
Yes.
But for the most part, I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. I did like the fact that it tied in and matched, like Jeff was saying, matched Babylon Squared so closely, so carefully. It's kind of like Back to the Future 2, right? Where he ends up going back to 1955 again, and now you're fitting the new stuff into the stuff that happened in the first movie. And if you're not careful, you could really do something screwy with it, and everybody goes, hang on, that didn't work. But it works really well. I think, of course, the fact that Straczynski is writing most of the episodes probably helps. But the continuity is solid pretty much all the way through. I like the twist at the end where Sinclair is Valen. I think it gives him a good send off, gives him a nice little a nice end to the arc for his character, and Michael O'Hare now he can go out on a high, and there's not this cloud hanging over everything in terms of why did he leave, what was going on, what happened. You have closure with his character, and I think that's good. Moving forward now, we can start getting into other arcs, like the person who showed up in Delenn's Flash. I was actually surprised to see that. I thought, hang on, is that happening now? Because I was not aware at what point that character enters the story. So I'm surprised that it's happening now. And so for some reason I was thinking it was season 5, but the only performance wise, the guy playing Zathras, I was like, it's a little overdone. I get it. He's an alien. He's an odd alien. He's a little off. But it felt a little bit too much Rain Man for me. That was the thing that bugged me. It didn't really bug me, but I'm like, I'm not connecting with this character. He had some moments.
Really? You didn't connect with
when
Zathras?
when they're going through the toolboxes, and he's like, no,
not this.
And he holds it,
Mark.
and he says, don't ever use this one. I was like, oh, that's a nice. He had nice character bits, but there wasn't anything that really locked me into caring about the character as much as I did with everybody else. I mean, he's a functional character. He's not a character that integrates into everything else. He's there to make things go. And so maybe that's one of the reasons why I didn't quite care for
the you're dumbing him down to that. Okay, I get it.
He's a little, he's there to perform a function. Well, okay, fine. And he's quirky. Okay, fine. But the tone of Babylon 5 doesn't really allow so much for comedy. And I don't know, maybe it's just me being sensitive to it, because right now I'm reading These Are the Voyages about Star Trek, and season 3, Gene Roddenberry came in and said, we're not doing a comedy. And so maybe I'm just now looking at things with a different lens. But overall, I like both episodes. I think it gives us some nice. I like the fact that we got Jakar and Londo at each other's throats in a completely new context. So that was a nice twist. The thing about the city burning after 17 years still kind of is a bother. So I mean, it's little things, but the little things kind of start accumulating and dial it down at least a point for me.
All right, Cam.
So you said 9 out of 10, right?
8.5, 9, yeah.
Just give it a
Take
9. Come on.
Nah,
All right, leave it.
8.5,
No peer
9.
pressure. Cam.
8.5, 9.
Okay.
8.75.
I love this episode. If you look at the actual, the main plot is really, like I said, this kind of caper thing of stealing Babylon 4, which is cool. I like the way that it weaved into Babylon Squared. I thought it was pretty effective. You might be able to pick something out here or there, but I think it was pretty solid for a time travel story, which are famous for being, self-contradictory and paradoxes and all that. But the real value of this episode is of course attached to that, and that's this is heavy lore setting information, fulfilling all kinds of things that we've had set up. Remember when we first started doing our show here, we talked about these little strings and things that are thrown out and how they kind of come together. This was a huge amount of the weave coming together, and that's why I watch the show. That's why I love the show, is for all that stuff. So I can't not rate this as a 10 because of that content. The amount and quality of it that's there. I absolutely love the whole Valen storyline and how this comes around. And there's even more to it. The Vorlons that you see there are Kosh and what's his name? The guy the other one that was on Mimbar. In the past, that's them, which is not fully established in this episode, but it's not a spoiler because
So Kosh is there.
That was Kosh, yeah.
Kosh was one of them, and then the other one is the one that Sinclair had talked.
And okay, so earlier on, I said, well, why would the Vorlons be helping him at all? And it's almost a reversal. We see the Vorlons as the kind of the leaders of all this, but in this case, Valen is the one that has the knowledge that the Vorlons don't have. And he's 1,000 years in the future. He knows how to defeat the shadows in the past, which is what their goal was at this point. So he's really the mover and shaker here. And since these are Vorlons he knew in the future, he knew to contact them in the past. So there's a bit more lore that enhances it there that wasn't fully explained in the episode, but my understanding that is what
will it be explained in the future, maybe, or is it in the Apocrypha?
No, it's direct statements from JMS, as I understand it.
Okay.
That explain this. So I don't think it shows. There might be some reference to it in the future, but anyway. So again, the Minbari and human storyline is the thing that it might be my most favored bit of all the lore. This whole idea of human souls being born into Minbari, and even though they kind of took away the magic of it a little bit and made it like we discussed, I still like it. It still holds up as a. It's like, wow, I didn't expect that, and it's super cool. I absolutely love this episode. These two episodes.
All myth is based in some sort of fact.
Sure. Yeah.
So I mean, there's this is no different, and maybe that's what he was going for. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think you're right. And it doesn't deflate it in this case. It's just the means of it is explained, by action. You know what I mean? It doesn't remove it. Or take it
doesn't
away.
Change what happened. It just
right. It just
gives us
the means is different.
This is why this is yeah.
Right. So I could go on and on, but yeah, 10 out of 10. If I don't know that there's an episode that can beat it in terms of the things that I personally love most about the show.
All right. And just a reminder to everybody, we're summing up right now. If you could leave a like, subscribe on your way out, that helps us out with the algorithm. We got says we got 15 people still on the show, so
don't forget
we appreciate you coming in and watching the show and participating. Everyone, thanks. Okay, so mine. I mean, everybody's covered a lot of the stuff. I'm just going to focus on the main things. It's the writing. putting it together. Again, time travel is really difficult to do. It always gets screwed up by writers. The fact that he can do this in it, it makes sense. And the fact that there's been changes from the original plan, and he's able to, JMS is able to weave them out in there and make sense of them. I greatly respect that, and it says something about what he's like as a writer. And I also agree that we've got a lot of conclusions here, which is great, but we also have a lot of new threads, which is also I was expecting a lot of conclusions, but not a lot of new threads, and now I'm excited to see what the heck is going on further. Lastly, I'll mention that Zathras never really, in the beginning when we first saw him in season 1, he never really, I was like, what is this weird guy? Everyone loves. Everyone who's watched the show seems to love him, and I'm like, what the heck? This guy's weird. He didn't really latch on to him very well. But now
I have to interrupt you. It's not Zathras. It's Zathras.
Right. And so
Zathras,
but now,
not Zathras.
Now I'm seeing a little bit more about him, and I'm kind of latched onto him a little more and understanding him a little more, and I'm learning to appreciate him, I guess would be the word, a bit more. So I'm starting to be converted to a fan of Zathras, even though originally I'm like, what the heck is with this? Anyway, those are my thoughts on it. I'll give it a 9 to 9.5 because I don't want to say anything's perfect. But great episode. If it gets better, I can't see how it could get better, but I guess we'll see. I'm curious to see where we go from this. I'm very curious if in the next episode we're going to see Sheridan talk to Delin and tell her some stuff that he found out on this episode, these 2 episodes, or sometime in the future. Maybe not the next episode, but somewhere before the end of this season. Okay. Excellent. All right. So let's go to real quick. We're going to go to trivia questions, and then we'll do some, tell us what you guys are coming up on your shows, and then we'll end off the show. So let's go to all right, let me further here. Okay.
Do you have
questions?
Questions. Yeah.
I'm gonna just go. So it's a little bigger. Put everyone off here. Okay, so we got 8 questions because it's a double episode. So he's the closed circle. He is returning blank. Fill in the blanks. Who do Sinclair and Delin receive letters from? Some of these are pretty straightforward. What is the password Garibaldi needs to open the message from Sinclair? According to Londo, how many years has it been since Sheridan began his war against the Shadows? Delin experiences a future time flash. What episode is this from? And I'll tell you, it's from a future episode. So we'll give a little hint as where that's coming from next week. What is the warning Sinclair sends to past Garibaldi? Who offers to take Sinclair's place on Babylon 4? And according to Zathras, who is the one? And those are the questions which we will answer next week. Okay, well, what's going on? We'll start. Dean, we'll go around the same way again. Dean, what's up?
Well, if you haven't heard, the GWAC, that's the Great Underground Online Gaming Convention, which is the creation of Dungeon Delver, is currently live, I believe.
Is it? Yes.
It is. And we have a couple of sessions for Untold Destiny. So if you sign up to their Discord server, we got one on Friday and one on Saturday. So if you want to have a taster, pop in and do a one shot, feel free to do so.
And this is sorry, Dean. This is your old one I haven't replaced.
Yeah, that's fine. We're running Destiny's Dispatch on Tuesday. We've got a guest speaker, which is Tony G-Man, and he's going to talk about his Kickstarter and how it's going.
All right. Madman.
All righty. If you didn't catch today's videos, we had Sesame Street is now on Tubi TV. Also, we have the video. The FTC is warning Visa, MasterCard, and other payment processors to stop debanking. We got that video out on there. That's going to help the content creators and the anime manga industry. Tomorrow, is this the end of the Home Shop Network and QVC on cable TV? A warning has been issued by the corporate company. And, of course, with all the situations over at Crunchyroll, which we have a lot more stories coming out, Crunchyroll is losing the room to piracy, even in Japan itself. And then, of course, Tuesday, Madman Cafe, 3 p.m. Eastern. We haven't decided what we're doing yet, but it should be good.
All right, Jeff.
Hey, well, I'm actually getting ready to post a link here in the chat where we actually had an interview with Bill Sylvie, aka the Dungeon Delver, on the Bad News Bard, which appears every Sunday at 9 p.m. Before Cam and Snob's Top Lofty Lounge. And this Sunday we have another guest coming on, and that is going to be Greg Garin from Advanced Fantasy Games. He's got a current Kickstarter that's going on, and it looks pretty good. It's definitely designed for the OSR crowd, and we're going to get him on, and he's going to discuss that with us. And I'm also working on getting the trolls back on, so we're gonna have them on. We were originally gonna have them on, but then they got kind of tied up with this Kickstarter because it happens to be Mega Dungeon Month on BackerKit, and they have this part 2 of Castle Zagig going on. So we're going to have hopefully at least Stephen Chenault on, maybe a couple of others. We don't know yet, still in the works, but that'll probably be a special episode during the week, and we'll see how that happens. That'll probably be next week sometime. So, any rate, Mondays we're doing a game with Lord Mateus too. So he's going to be running Lamentations of the Flame Princess. Probably a 1 or 2 shot, something kind of quick. So, and Cam is joining me on that one. So that's going to be fun.
Jason.
Not really much of a plan at this point. We just got home from the hospital today, so we're settling back in to a routine. I am sending out a number of emails to try to line up some guests. I did get a hint. We're speculating at this point. I'm gonna say it here first. Be looking for a Star Trek United announcement maybe soon.
Oh, cool.
Really? Interesting.
I don't know if you guys saw. Apparently, it's been posted on Trek Central, a couple of other places talking about they are dismantling the sets for both Starfleet Academy and Strange New Worlds, which means we're not getting year 1.
Oh,
or a 3rd season of Starfleet Academy. Kirkman Trek is officially dead. Thank you very much. So, and
what about that petition?
I know, right? It got more signatures than anybody watched it.
Yeah,
we are probably going to talk a little bit more about J.J. Abrams moving to New York and essentially taking Bad Robot back to basics. And this past Monday, you guys can check out that show. Paul DeGarabedian was on. We were talking about box office for Project Hail Mary and the Super Mario Galaxy movie, and making a little bit of some predictions and talking about what's coming next. So check that out. And of course, Bad News Bards on Sunday night. And at some point, I want to get Michael Sussman on. We'll see. I don't know. He's dodging me.
All right. Thanks. And also, I will mention other of our affiliates. Outpost Nerd. He's got Nerd at Night. He's got some videos up. You can check out this link down there and check him out and find out what he's up to and what he's doing on his show as well. And he will be on this show in the near future. I can't remember what episode, but not the next one or the one after.
It's the 2 prior to the finale.
Yeah, coming up soon. All right. Cam.
Well, other than what Jeff mentioned, we have, he actually mentioned Top Lefty Lounge on Sunday nights at 11 p.m. Eastern. And this week we will be rating. Is this week, right? Rating Star Trek movies. It is.
Yeah.
I will
We're
let you
talking
go
about
into
Star Trek movies.
Further detail.
And we're going to have a guest. Anti-Derivative Jill is going to be on there, and she's going to be giving her ratings as well. We're talking about the Star Trek movies, a little bit about them. Basically, motion picture up to Nemesis or Insurrection, whichever one's the last one. Talking a little bit about that. And then the week after that on Top Lofty, of course, we're going to it's movie night, and Cam has picked the movie for this time, so he's to blame if you don't like it, not me.
It's a great movie.
Cam, what movie did you pick?
2010.
Oh, probably
it's a good movie. It's a good
Great movie.
Damn, it's a good one.
One of the biggest underrated movies of all time, which is it's a fantastic film.
Yeah.
It's gonna make me look bad.
As a sequel, many times sequels suck, but this one's actually good.
All right. So, remember that. And I'll have links up. It can be seen online. We usually pick something that can be seen online. So I'll have links up for that when I post it, and you can watch it for free if you don't have a copy. Next week on this show, we're doing Walkabout, episode 18. So,
It's a Dr. Franklin episode.
Everyone loves Dr. Franklin. I'm not supposed to say this, but I think the next 2 episodes are not
filler. Are we gonna get filler again?
Maybe filler. Yes.
Yeah, it's Walkabout,
but
and Gray 17 is missing.
Yeah.
Yes, but you know what? Sometimes the audience likes those episodes best because we tend to trash them, and becomes a little more people sometimes tend to watch. But we'll see. Hopefully, everyone will still tune in.
Hey, Snob, did you get anything?
Did I get anything? What?
Yeah. Any super chats or anything
on this show? No, I'm aware of.
Are you sure?
You sure
about that? Think so. Oh, did we just get one just now? Oh, okay. Death Angel Shadow put in a super chat. Oh, thank you for reminding me. I didn't see it. You're hiding it. I'm trying to. So super chat $2. Yeah, thanks. Appreciate that. Subscribe to all our channels if you can. It helps us with the algorithm. Put some likes in there. We're struggling here in the bottom end of the internet with the low level guys. Nobody pays attention to us.
Snob's always, he's such the gracious host, and he always forgets to pimp we have super chats here on this channel. So if you really like the content, man, help us out, help Snob out, man, because trust me, I'm paying for Restream too. So I know,
and so am I.
Yeah, so
OBS is free.
Yes, OBS is free, and I use OBS to talk to Restream.
OBS is free
because OBS can't do 90% of the stuff that Restream can. So anyway,
all right. Well, thank you. All right. Well, thank you. Come on, this is not the OBS versus Restream fight.
I use OBS to talk to Restream.
We'll talk. I could do almost anything with OBS.
Don't. Yeah, and buffering in particular. You can do buffering.
I'm going for the cat button.
That's not OBS.
I'm going for the cat button.
Mm-hmm.
That's not OBS.
Do the cats. All right. Okay. Thanks everybody for coming in.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.
Watching the show. I hope you enjoyed it. A little bit long, but it was a double episode. So
we expected it.
We'll see you next week at our regular time and the more regular length of show.
We'll see you on our regular shows. See ya.
See ya.
See ya.
Bye.
Good evening. Ambassador Londo Molari here from Babylon 5. Please join me on the Babylon 5 retrospective on Science Fiction Snob, Wednesdays at 10 p.m. Central. Yes? Have I ever told you you're very cute for a Mimbari?